kind of stuff are they giving you the most trouble about in terms of censorship? Is nudity or
like
language?
waking up?
Just getting out of bed in the morning?
They just have it in their minds that they want to hire somebody, but they don't want any communication made. You know, they want to like make you into something. I don't know. It's like, I guess it goes into white homes. They're worried about that a lot.
What do they? Yeah, you know, it's funny. Gwen Barrett, our associate producer, or sometime producer, is black. You know, and Carmen Matias is Hispanic.
You have to be colored to be on television.
Yeah, colored.
Yeah,
be able to talk.
Be black. You have to have a little colored in there, just a taste.
Tad.
Yeah, just to keep it interesting for America.
Yeah. Well, she said, we were talking about your humor, that your humor offends white people, and I'm not that easily offended. Like, I'm not coming from a spot where Richard Pryor is going to offend me. I think you have humor that makes us see a lot of the truth and laugh at things we wouldn't normally laugh at. I think that's part of what you're doing. What do you think that these executives are afraid you're going to do to white America?
Probably stop some racism.
Stop racism?
What's up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing today? Yeah, this is gonna hurt. We're gonna be doing a reaction to a debate that was long since has colored a lot of people's perspective, and quite frankly, with the recent hostilities that's going on, this is one of those things where it's just like, it lets you know of like somebody's true characteristics and what not leftism is, man. And this is a 3-hour debate. I am going to be very honest with you guys. I am not going to be able to watch this whole thing. I'm already speeding it up, and no, because a lot of this shit is just like, I'm going to actually say this. I have experienced so much shit in my 41, almost 42 years of life, and I can tell where people that want to be, you know, down in the struggle, down in the grind, and and people who have actually been there and don't want people to be there. I've been in places where I've seen people where they literally says, my kids will never know what this shit is like gonna be like. And I've seen those kids actually say, well, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be no, you don't. And a lot of this shit, especially with the online left, especially with these, oh, I'm going to be a revolutionary shit, they have no idea what true fucking struggle is. They grew up in the fucking suburbs, and what they did is they think that identifying with an oppressed race means that, oh, we all want revenge. No, motherfuckers, a lot of us just don't want to be suffering. And if you're one of those persons that you stumbled upon this video and you feel that revolution is the best way to carry out the betterment of this fucking society, I have news for you. You've never lived in even bad situations. And I know some people, well, I grew up in this bad situation. Then why would you want to fucking spread that to other people? So we're going to listen to this video. We're going to listen to it in light of the current situation, especially what happened in October the 7th. And this is why I fucking hate terminally online leftism that thinks a revolution, thinks that fighting for and overturning anything is glorious. Because they forget that there will be casualties on both sides. But let's hear this shit. And by the way, I'm gonna be playing some Conan XL. I know. Let's go.
Kick out the people who colonize them. There's a number of ways that could look like without actually kick out the people who colonize them. There's a number of ways that could look like without actually committing genocide.
Isn't that, I mean, how do you kick out millions of people because of their race?
First off, this whole idea of I'm gonna show my gravitas by having a motherfucking book virtue signal behind me. Oh, this is some bullshit. This is straight up some bullshit. And I'm all right. I'm already getting ahead of myself. Let's just get to it. Let's go.
Not all white people are colonizers. You yourself acknowledged it's possible for a white person to live ethically in South Africa. So maybe we go below the surface level and we talk about the underlying issue, like colonization and the systemic problems that lead to that. Hey, howdy.
Hi.
How are we doing today?
Doing all right. I wasn't planning on spending my day off talking with you, but glad it's happening. My friend BP, who I mentioned in my last video, had this great idea for me to make brownies, and I cut them up into little pieces. And the idea is that if there's anything that you want brownie points for, I can just take this and put this in the jar. And I figured that maybe at the end we could count all the brownie points together.
Nice.
See, just that alone right there. I get it. You already got hostilities, but you just gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna give you brownie points for being a good little what? Brownie points for what? What the fuck are you just openly fucking hostile for? I don't know, like, just say you don't like the motherfucker and keep it moving. You just going through a performative ass thing. Shit, I fucking like brownies. I like brownies like a fat me likes cake. You know what I'm saying? Why the fuck are you doing this? I know it's incredibly petty, but that just shows my point. Doing this shit was incredibly petty. You're just doing it just to say, look, I can dunk on him anytime I fucking feel like it. And that's what a lot of this fucking conversation is. I want to dunk. And they just fall flat. But here we go.
No, I like that.
Saying that,
I'm on a diet,
yeah,
though, so I
can't... saying on the last...
I can't eat them.
No, that's a shame. They're the Ghirardelli kind, so... I just remember, like, the last video that you said that you're helping me out by platforming a content creator a 30th year size, so maybe we could start off with that for a brownie point if you wanted.
Oh, well, yeah, I want as many brownie points as I can get. And yeah, isn't that how it always works, right? It's actually something that I've been struggling with a lot recently with my channel, you know, because people will, I don't mean you with this, I legitimately don't mean you, but like usually like far-right types, they antagonize me because they want the attention, and the attention they get it whether or not they come off looking good in interactions with me, so it's, you know, you gotta be careful with the clout game. It's rough out here. It's like Game of Thrones.
So let's just actually address this one point right here. Now, this video is obviously 2 years old, and we know that later on it goes without saying that Professor Flowers went on to say that, oh, a lot of people, they harassed me, and she is clearly coming into this video wanting the clout, wanting the B platform, and she's making a joke about it. And the fact that it didn't turn out how you liked it lets me know that maybe you should have been careful of what the fuck you actually wanted to say. Especially since some of the shit that Professor Flowers was saying at the end of this was just outright monstrous. But let's continue.
Yeah. So,
and see, here's the thing too. You can just tell that Professor Flowers was woefully unprepared. It was this boogeyman of just, okay, I'm gonna come in and just seem like I'm like just awesome and fight back and all that other good bullshit. And it just never came to fruition. Professor Flowers came off more just unhinged than anything. And the fact that you come on looking for a fight, I've done conversations where I've just looked for a fight. I've done conversations where it's just like, oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be a roast. But when you're coming against somebody who knows that's what you're doing and won't give it to you, then you may have to look a different place for the shit. But let's continue.
Hey, I want to talk politics.
What did you ask me
Talk
on?
shop?
Yeah, want to talk? Sure, let's get to down why you asked me on here.
Yeah. Well, I guess I took issue with your video, the first one, and I guess the second one was just sort of a follow-through on the issues that I had with the first one. There is a mistake that I made, which I'd like to address up front, which is, at a couple of times when I responded to your first video, I stated outright that if you would watch the entirety of the debate that I had with, D.I. Angel, I think that was their name, then you would find
D.I. Angel.
D.I. Angel. That I would have changed my mind on the black separatism, black nationalism semantic distinction there. And that's actually not true. I changed my mind. I must have changed it in the following days afterwards. But I was wrong in the context of that specific...
All right, so I'm going to actually say this. Just, again, being honest. A lot of people hide their black separatism and black nationalism. I get why people do that, because they don't want to be labeled as a fucking racist. And nobody wants to be labeled as a racist. Although I feel that, you know, if you have fucking beliefs, say the shit with your whole motherfucking chest. Don't sit back and just hide behind the shit. Say that shit with your whole motherfucking chest. But not a lot of people are going to be that open or honest about shit like that. Yeah, sure. But so many of these people in this group, like Professor Flowers, like FD, like Turb, even like in some cases, Foreign Men in this Foreign Land and Little Bill, they just have fucking racist ass tendencies. This is what Cornbread Tube like feeds on. And most of their audience are some of the same black people that have that racist tendencies, or guilt-ridden white people who want to feel like they're one of the good ones. That doesn't help out anybody. Doesn't help out anybody whatsoever. Being ashamed of who you are just because of what you were born as, that's reactionary shit. But let's continue.
Debate. My position hadn't changed from beginning to end. Of course, since then, I think that I've been pretty responsible with my rhetoric, which is why I took issue with your assertion that I spread misinformation on this, you know?
Yeah, I understand you saying that. And I'm a little bit confused because my video actually talks about that. My video talks about how originally in the original debate, you talk about how you're against black nationalism. Eventually you realize like, oh, I'm talking about black separatism, correct that. And then in my original video, actually, I talk about how your definition of black separatism and comparing it to white nationalism is still an issue because the context of what those things are very different. White nationalists who are separatists want to live in a different state because they think that black people are inferior. And people who are black separatists, there's obviously people who are very problematic in that group that I'm not going to sit here and defend. But there are people who are separatists because they just want to be away from their oppressors.
And this is when the semantic games come in. I don't know any white people that's my oppressors. I'm sorry. I know this is going to sound really fucking weird. I know what system is. I know fucking capitalism is. I know the current state of our fucking, government is very, very anti-freedom in some cases. But when you start equating a group of people to your oppressors, you're starting to fuck up right then and there. And this is a problem. This is a problem. And maybe you guys saw that video that I did where I, submitted a question to Boy the Fifth Column to say that, hey, how do you deal with people who think that, they, oh damn, I turned into this canon event on the online leftism the last 2 years, and Crimson is covering. Hell yeah. Okay, stop. But a lot of, I don't know how to deal with, for real, just deal with this bullshit of just associating one group of people with everything that's going wrong with what's going on with your community, with the world in large, I can't do that. Mostly because I'm insane and like I, individualize each person because I fucking hate people. But anyway, the fact is, when you're just saying that all white people are oppressors, again, what I've been saying recently, there are white people who go through the same shit that black people do. As far as poverty, as far as social limitations, same shit, just different zip codes. And the fact that people like Professor Flowers will just sit back and say, nuh-uh, they don't, it's kind of disingenuous to me. It's definitely kind of disingenuous to me. Because the only thing it does is just say, well, these persons are uniquely motherfucking evil versus me and my group. And that's no way that the left should actually be. But let's go.
And so painting them in a bad light is also an issue. Painting them as just white nationalists, basically, like making that false equivalency is an issue, because when people talk about that, when people talk about how they need to get away.
And again, one of the things that I want to actually point out too is like, I don't think people like Professor Flowers realize that a lot of people aren't racist just because they want to be fucking evil and hateful. A lot of people are racist because they're fucking fearful. This is what I think that a lot of people fail to realize. There isn't some white racists. Most of the white racists aren't scared of minorities because they feel like they're instinctually better. No, they fear minorities because they fear some sort of inferiority. They feel some sort of, oh my God, they're going to eventually take us over. And you cannot tell me that when you think that, well, I'm better than them, that even though you're better than them, you feel that they're going to take over. No, that just reeks of insecurity. To me, at least. That reeks of, oh my God, I'm going to fucking fail because they're without, major, I guess, slanting of the fucking situations, I'm going to actually be taken over. But let's continue.
From their oppressors, people talk about how they have to have their own spaces. They're just painted as basically white nationalists, and how that's a problem. It's making that space more hostile for people with those views.
Yeah, well, I guess I just really do think they're pretty similar, When you take a look at a lot of black separatist communities, there are a lot of underlying reactionary tendencies like homophobia, anti-Semitism. A lot of them do seem to believe in the same Jewish question, just from the opposite perspective. Nazis think that Jewish people want to destroy white people by bringing in, black and brown people. And black separatists often think that Jewish people want to destroy black people by promoting white industry at the expense of black culture. And it seems...
So, here's the thing, too. There is... Well, this is actually fucking true. You know how many people I've heard in my personal life that just say, yeah, they just want to destroy our culture. They just want to try to destroy the black family. Fucking Louis Farrakhan actually is one of those people. Fucking Omar Johnson. They just want to do this to destroy the black family, and the black family was always strongest. Like, do you guys hear your fucking selves? These people literally say this shit. And I challenge any of my, people that's in my community that actually have subscribed to the black separatist idea and heard some of the talking points that you hear from a lot of black separatists. I challenge you. Tell me where that is incorrect. Where you don't hear about the people who literally the reason why they don't like a certain group of people is because, well, they try to destroy the family. Even when it comes down to just LGBTQ people. They just trying to make sure that everybody's gay and destroy the family. As a woman, I'm oppressed by the patriarchal power. I'm not oppressed by individual man. Men are fine. It's the power structure. Yeah, and that's where we should actually take it as leftists. Definitely, we should take it as leftists. But a lot of these people, they don't take it that way. They take it as fuck all people, fuck all. In this case, fuck all men, and it's harmful. But let's go. We still got 3 hours to go. Oh God, fuck that fucking idiot. Oh God, that fucking idiot. Oh God. What amazes me about shit like that is that we've always had those conditions about people with learning disabilities, people that had schizophrenia, people that had several different mental orders, and they've attributed it to demon possession or they're just unwell or some shit like that. But it was always there. It's the product of the human experience. It's more pronounced because, well, more people are living till adulthood because childhood mortality is falling off a fucking cliff. But yeah, exactly.
Seems like the fundamental bones are pretty similar, and then when you get into the logistics of creating an ethno-state, there's not really any way to do that without genocide, you know? Like, take South Africa, right? I mean, it's all well and good to talk about living free of your oppressors, but when you break apartheid in South Africa, there are millions of white people living in that country. Like, what do? Do you just, like, ship them all out? Do you build camps? I mean, it seems like this logic always leads down a really bad road.
There's a few things in there. So one of them is that the black separatists they were talking about who are homophobic, anti-Semitic, I agree. Fuck that. I'm not going to, like, sit here and be like, that's a good thing. We need to, like, give that space to talk. I'm not talking about those kinds of people. I'm talking about the people who just want to be away from their oppressors. And then in the issue of South Africa, for example.
But they never, ever condemn those other people. They want to use them as a fucking platform to literally say, like, no, we're not going to, we're not going to promote that. But they never condemn them. And here's the South African talk. Now, if you guys don't know, the history of South Africa in the 90s, apartheid was eventually broken apart, which is a fucking great thing. And also, Nelson Mandela, who led the charge, actually says, no, we're going to make sure that we do just more than just say, oh yeah, we're going to break apart apartheid and we're going to call for revenge. Nelson Mandela was like, this is not what we're going to do here. This is not what we do here. And everybody was like, but we want revenge. And he was like, no. And while he was alive, you know, they had a better relationship. Not as perfect, but the moment that he, you know, was longer president, I think the second president after him became very, if I remember it, very like, hey, we're going to start focus on revenge. And then he started doing shit like, oh yeah, the fucking AIDS crisis is a fact of like what the white man is doing to us. So in being homosexual is just like bad, and ignored the AIDS crisis. And now they had such a problem with the motherfucking AIDS crisis because it was let's focus on revenge and fuck everything else. And it just, god damn. All right, let's just go. Let's go.
Or I guess any colonized country in Africa, like the way that people take power from their oppressors, even if it's not full-on separatism, is they take the power back that's taken away from them, and then that's how they kick out the people who colonize them. There's a number of ways that could look like without actually committing genocide.
Isn't that? I mean, how do you?
Ethnic cleansing is genocide. Fucking ethnic cleansing is genocide. No matter what you say, ethnic cleansing is genocide. When you say I'm gonna kick out this group out of this one area, that's genocide. That's saying we don't want your kind here. I'm sorry. That's just the end of it. What Israel is doing to Palestinians right now in the Gaza Strip, even if they kill no other people, and they say we don't want your kind here, and they chop off Gaza from North Gaza, and that's ethnic cleansing. That's genocide. But it's only genocide and ethnic cleansing when it's the people that they don't like is in power. this is shit. This is the shit I'm talking about. It's like, dog, come on now. Be motherfucking consistent. But being consistent for these motherfuckers means that they can't get the revenge that they want to fucking get. But let's continue.
Kick out millions of people because of their race without it being a
You
genocide.
take out, so like when colonization happens, the people who colonize those places take over industries, making it so that way the people who have the most power are running those countries. So what you do to take away their power is you take the power back. You make those industries not run by the people who are colonizing them. And then because they have a lack of power, those people tend to leave. That's just like one example off the top of my head.
Oh, sure. If you mean like reappropriating businesses and fairly distributing them, and then people of their own volition leave, that's fine. But that's not what I tend to see from like black separatists, right? They aren't like, we should have a proportional amount of industry controlled by black people in X country, and then let the cards fall where they may. There's usually an explicit intent to not live with the racial groups that are associated with their oppression, which is kind of what you use in your video too, right? Like, you don't say people in colonized countries should have the right to reappropriate industry and make it democratic. You say they should have a right to determine whether they want to live with their oppressor. You're giving the state the power to deport people or kill them, when that's the language you use.
My point is that the people who colonize those people, if the people who are there and they live in their own country don't want to live with people who are colonized, they should have the right to determine if they want to live with those people or not. I think that
Again, and this is the problem. And this is all... I've seen so many people try to defend this shit. And I'm sorry. This is no defending this shit. You can't defend this shit. She is literally saying, when Vash asks her ass, hey, that sounds pretty weird that you're saying that, hey, you're giving the state the power to expel or execute these people. It's not a no, I'm not. It's not a no, we just want to make sure that certain people can move around as they want to move around. It's, well, I don't like the way you said it, so I'm going to say it this way. And I fucking get that, you don't want to call out somebody who's black about things that may have affected them because you don't have that lived experience. But be it what you may, this is some shit where you are literally saying you're not saying that it is bad that people are trying to get rid of this whole, a group of people, and the state shouldn't have that power. You're just saying that, well, the people in the country should have the ability of saying what they want, and hey, if they want to, say that, hey, let's kick out these people. I mean, they were the ones that were hurt in the past, right? I mean, no matter how long ago, they were the ones that were hurt in the past, right? Oh, so you're talking about an active war. You're talking about a war where people were actively fighting. No, we're talking about people that were generations ago. To people like Professor Flowers, there's no fucking difference. But let's go.
could look like a number of things. And my point is that it doesn't actually have to always look like genocide. And the way that you're painting it is just comparing it to white nationalism.
It doesn't always have to look like genocide, but it always looks like genocide. When you force people out of a country, that's genocide. That's what it is. You're acknowledging that forcing people out of a country is genocide, but it doesn't have to look like that. But that's what it seems like. That's what it sounds like, and that's what you're okay with. But it doesn't have to look like that. What does it look like then? I'm sorry, I don't get that part. But let's go.
So my point is that you can critique these things. You don't have to agree with these things, but you can talk about that sentiment without calling it the same thing as white nationalism. That's my point of the two videos.
But I've talked to white nationalists, and they kind of talk exactly like how you talk. Most of them aren't bold enough to say, yeah, I want to genocide or deport all the non-white people. Usually it's like, yeah, we want to restrict immigration from X countries, and we want to pay people to leave, and we want to incentivize white power in our country. Because at the end of the day, I mean, it seems like the underlying logic here is the same, right? Whether the grievances are legitimate or not, and I want to make a clear distinction here. Black people in South Africa have been oppressed by white people. White people in America are not oppressed by Jews or whatever. So obviously, in terms of correctly identifying past modes of oppression, there's a huge difference. But the feelings of persecution are the same. Nazis do feel persecuted, and as a product of that, the language they use comes out really similar to this. We should have the right...
And so this is what I was saying earlier. This is exactly what I was saying earlier. The fact is, if you actually listen to fucking white supremacists, and God, unless you have a fucking fortified fucking feeling in your motherfucking feet, be careful. But if you actually listen to them, they are so afraid and so scared that they will be wiped out or oppressed or lived under the, shadow of the big black dick that they want to put so much in their mouth. But they're so fearful of the shit that you guys have no idea how fucking fearful of black people that so many white nationalists are. They think that if they don't do anything, they're gonna be they're gonna be essayed out of existence, and then their daughter gonna like black men and black women that's gonna feed their sons good cooking with seasoning and shit like that. All types of shit. And they're gonna teach them rhythm and shit. Like they're alright, being an asshole, but they are afraid. They are just scared. This is something that literally they believe. And the fact is, when you have people like Professor Flowers that says, yeah, you should be afraid because we may kick you out if we get power, that doesn't make people want to get, oh, you know what, you're right, I'm just going to stop being afraid. It makes them want to triple and quadruple down. But let's continue.
To determine a space for our people, a right to choose our homeland. So the language to me comes off really, really similar to white nationalist stuff, especially when we're dealing in like really ambiguous terms like they should have a right to live free of the oppressors. I mean, how can a person be an oppressor because of their race? Did all the millions of white people in South Africa like individually oppress all the black people there? It just seems weird to be retaliatory in that way.
A point that I constantly bring up. A point that I bring up. That's it. But let's go.
So it's not that every single person is necessarily an oppressor. The thing that people are talking about with racism comes down to the system that people are part of. For example, I'm adopted and my dad is white and he's a European immigrant, actually. And he might not have been a part of the people who have enslaved black people or descendants of those people, but he's still profiting off of a racist system. And
so you recognize that. But you like, do you care about your adopted dad? I mean, like, dude, you literally just said that yeah, not all white people, but still all white people. This is literally what you just came off as, and that shit does not sound cool. Wow. I get that you may have some hostilities toward a certain group, but didn't just say like, yeah, like, my adopted dad still kind of benefit from it, even though he wasn't, all because he's white. I think you need to check some bigotry that you may have. But let's go.
there needs to be some sort of disempowerment of those people as far as power and racist structures in order for there to be equality. So that's the point that I'm getting at. The reason why I'm being vague is because if you look at different countries who have decolonized themselves, you have like all these different ways that those countries have gone about it. You have people who have been very violent, and you have people who have somehow done it peacefully. We're reading a book called Ujamaa or it's called Ujamaa, but it's by Julius Nyerere, who was one of the leaders of getting rid of colonialism in Tanzania. Unfortunately, after he died, a lot of things were put in place, but he did it completely through voting, which is amazing. And we're also...
And I haven't read any of that, but chances are, again, with the history of a lot of this shit goes, He did it through voting. He did it through peacefully. And then motherfuckers behind him wanted revenge. And it kind of fucked everything up. Like it or not, as much as I fucking hate it, we live in a fucking capitalist global system. And even if we were to move to socialism tomorrow, it still says something where businesses, because there are still businesses in socialism, worker owned or not, are not going to want to be in a country that leads fucking pilgrims against motherfucking racial ass groups because of petty fucking revenge. It's going to leave your country as, oh, them motherfuckers over there, those motherfuckers, if you did something wrong to them, they're gonna fucking hold revenge for the rest of their motherfucking life. And it's gonna leave your country seemingly just in a horrible state, all because you wanted revenge, not reconciliation, not restoration. You wanted revenge, but you can't tell people like this anything because revenge is paramount. But let's go.
So reading like Frantz Fanon's Wretched of the Earth. Frantz Fanon did a lot of work in Algeria, which and there was like a lot of violence that happened there. I think like dealing with colonialism is going to be messy, and there needs to be room to have nuance in these conversations. And I think just kind of reducing it to like, oh, this is white nationalism is very reductive, and it doesn't really give space for those people to talk about what to do.
I just don't understand how you could ever morally permit any plan of action which involves the deportation of a people based on their ethnic group, you know? I don't know if that necessarily addresses any of
that ethnic group colonized a group of people.
You're just not getting it. You're just not getting it. Oh my God. It's like you want to have a blood feud as if it's motherfucking... I fucking hate these things. Kill this shit. Sometimes I wish the motherfucking story of Eden was fucking real because I fucking hate snakes. I'm sorry. This is just me. All right, let's go. What was I saying? Oh yeah. But no, you just want a blood feud, and blood feuds are never fucking. They're never fucking good. Blood feuds are never fucking good. But let's go.
Oh, sure.
That's
but
how. That's and if we disagree on that line, that's fine.
No,
but I think colonized people have to have the right to self-determination. What to do about the people who colonize them?
I agree that the ethnic group did indeed participate in the colonization, but I don't believe in taking blanket retribution against people for their bloodline because they're associated with the bloodline.
It's not about.
Well, yeah, I did.
What she about to say is not about bloodlines. What she about to say is not about bloodlines. What the fuck do you think it is? If you are literally about to say, you know, let's get rid of the white people because they once their ancestors did some shit that's fucked up. Because she just recognized, remember, she just recognized that, you know, hey, it's a system. It's not one individual person. It's a system. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she's going to clean it up.
Yeah, either.
It is.
It's about being away from the people who oppressed you. It's about taking your power back from the people who oppressed you. And
Yeah,
that's what
but
I'm
you
saying.
can do
that
that without
context makes a difference.
deportation.
That context should be a lens where you analyze that. I'm sure some people think so. I'm sure some people have found that they can't. You know what I'm saying?
And this is why. It's when people say she sounds like Blickler. Whenever you say people who are colonized has a right to determine, like, dude, you start sounding like the fucking 14 words. And I get that you don't want to make that association because, oh, that shit sounds evil. So maybe you shouldn't make the association with your rhetoric. Again, why wouldn't you? Okay. Maybe this is just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at this shit the wrong fucking way. I don't want to live next to motherfucking slavers from the U.S. I don't. the thing about it is, slavers from the U.S., them motherfuckers are dead. I mean, let me have had the opportunity to motherfucking melt down that motherfucking Robert E. Lee statue so I can learn my smithing journey, because I want to actually build me a forge, you know, so I can start smithing and shit like that. But I've been motherfucking awesome. That's because my issue would have been with motherfuckers who fought in the Confederacy. But this blanket, like, we need to be away from our oppressors, unless you think all white people are your oppressors, then it's the motherfucking system, dog. And that's the thing. These motherfuckers that say this shit, they don't believe it's a system. They just believe it's Whitey's fault. That's what they fucking believe. And you ask them, and they will go on this tirade about, oh man, the white man is keeping me down. And it's just like, I don't know what else to say to these people. But let's continue.
Saying it's very different for each country and each context.
You can do that without deportation or creating an ethno-state. In fact, I can't really think of a single time in history that ethnic disempowerment was improved through the initiation of genocide, or like mass deportation. It doesn't seem to be a very effective way of changing the socioeconomic reality of the people who were previously colonized or previously oppressed. It seems like, if anything, it's an act of retribution, that people would go, oh, well, since we were the oppressed for centuries, now we have the right to enact moral vengeance against you and remove millions of you from the country or something. And that just seems to me, I mean, not only are you basically being the villain there, it just seems to me like this is a really impractical way of fixing any of these issues, you know? Like, what's, like, I mean,
I think that's fair to say, like, that you could say, like, wow, like, mass deporting millions of people is, like, not really useful or helpful. But I also think, like, when you look at people who are...
You recognize it's not helpful. You recognize that it's bad. So why the fuck are you still advocating for it? Why the fuck are you still advocating for it?
Working on decolonizing, like, that's not necessarily what's happening. People are just trying to, like, get the people who have power over them to leave. And I think in that context, that makes sense insofar as you're trying to break down a power structure. That's where I stand on it personally.
If they want to leave, that's fine, but I don't think any ethnic group has any more of a right to a country than any other ethnic group. I don't think any racial group here in America has the right to decide whether they want to live with any other racial group.
So, like, just to, like, be clear, because I actually don't know your views on this, like, you don't think that we should give the land back to indigenous people?
If that involved deporting the people who live here who aren't indigenous, then God, no, absolutely not. I don't think we could fix one genocide with another one.
It puzzles my motherfucking mind. It puzzles my motherfucking mind of how much these people don't realize. These are both people that live in the fucking Americas. They live in what is termed North America. Professor Flowers lives in North America. If she lived by the logic that she claims she lives by, and I know we've seen the people recently that says, well, if Native Americans decided that they wanted to come in and just say, like, fuck all of y'all and do some, you know, bad shit, that so many of these people were like, yeah, well, low, I deserve it. Like, yeah, they've actually said that bullshit. And I'm like, wow, you guys are just, you're trying to fucking prove a point. But, yeah. Doesn't Professor Flowers realize that, you know, she would also be deserving of the chopping block? Because somebody can justify that black people have benefited from being in America. I don't think they think this shit out. They want to think it out for their one chosen country, except for when it hurts everybody. The way it's just weird. But let's go. Let's go.
I think there are ways to address the problems with, like, Native American people here today involving, like, land redistribution or, like, forms of reparation and stuff. But if it involves, like, displacing, like, millions of Americans, that seems I don't know. That seems pretty bad.
I mean, I think it sounds pretty bad. I don't think indigenous people are trying to do that. And at the same
No,
time,
I agree.
like,
Yeah.
these are the people who are colonized, and they have to have their own autonomy to decide.
But the way Professor Flowers just sets this out is that if enough of them, not even majority, just enough of them say that, hey, you know, we're marginalized people in this country. We need to motherfucking make sure that you need to listen to us. It'll be okay. And that's when you start giving this shit fucking life. You gonna find some people that's gonna be like, oh no, okay, yeah, let's just kill them all. But let's go.
What happens after being colonized by people?
Well,
and again, I
within
don't
limits,
think that's
right?
the solution for them.
Well, within limits.
I
I
think
mean, they couldn't
should
go
get
like
to decide
we get to
those
kill
limits.
them all. Well, wait. If Native Americans
Yeah.
wanted to start like taking out a blood debt on white people, I don't think they should be allowed to just start killing us, right?
I mean, I don't think they should be allowed to start killing people. What I'm saying is, like, they should have the right to decide if the colonization should continue, if the people who should stay here or not.
She didn't answer the question. She didn't fucking answer the question. Vosh specifically asked if they started to want to take out blood debts. Should they be allowed to? Well, I don't think they want to. But it's never a refutation of should they be allowed to. But let's continue.
What do you mean? But where's here? The whole of America? Do we deport 1/3 of a billion people back to Europe or something? I mean, we'd cause like a worldwide catastrophe so that what? A few million people can re-inherit the land. I like the logistics of this seem really odd to me. Shouldn't we talk about ways that you can pragmatically address these issues and not like just give massive moral leeway to people just because they're oppressed? I don't think being oppressed means that you have any more of a right to be like a moral judge, jury, and executioner than any other member of any other group.
I think the point is that it's not actually like the U.S.'s land. We're on indigenous land, and they need to have their own autonomy. I highly doubt that if we gave the land back to indigenous people, that they would do the same thing that white people did to them. And I think that's also like a mistake around black people. Like, black people having power doesn't mean...
But you are literally saying it's okay if they did. You are literally saying, well, you know, if they did, Lowe's. You are literally saying it's okay if they did. And what's fucked up is you're not fucking thinking. You're too fucking emotional to actually think that that's what you're saying. You are literally saying, well, if they decide to, you know, even though they don't want to, but if they decide to, it'll be A-okay because reasons. And that's all this is. That is literally what this whole conversation is. Deflections, yes. That's all this conversation is. And it's fucking stupid. And then, well, I got hate online because they said I wanted to be okay with, I was okay with genocide. This is clearly asking you, are you okay with it? And you're not refuting it. This is you being asked. But let's go.
mean that they're going to just like start murdering white people.
Yeah,
white people just like want equality, or black people just want equality.
Wait, but I don't have
it's
a
like,
problem
I think people should have
with land back. I don't have a problem with black people having power. I'm specifically saying I take issue with your claim that oppressed people have the right to determine whether or not they want to live with their oppressor. I don't think the land back movement
Like,
is about
that's-
kicking Europeans out.
like there's so many ways that could look like besides committing mass genocide. You know, like you keep on talking about like, oh, that means that we're just going to kill people or deport people. There's just so many ways that could look like in the US, that could look like in different African countries.
And here, this is what this is about. This isn't about the US. That's why it's so many caveats to it. And I'm not saying that she's being disingenuous. I want to actually take the time to say she's not being disingenuous. It's that it's about finding excuses for the part that she wants to find excuses for. And the part she wants to find excuses for is, what do we do about white people in Africa? That's what this is about. That's what a lot of black separatists have their issue about. They want to kick out every black person, every non-black person out of Africa. And even, some of those people that live in those Arab people that live in North Africa, they're not really, Africans, even though that area has been a mix of cultures and peoples for the entirety of the human race, because that's when we start to move out of Africa. They will still hold that belief. You will hear black people who have issues with Arab people that live in that area, even though, like, newsflash, like, humans have spread like that since we've evolved. All of the inconsistencies, all of the clarifications start to make sense if you actually see it as a way of a lot of these people just want to find a way of kicking white people out of Africa. But let's go.
And I think people should have the right to determine that, to be able to talk about what to do.
But I'm in favor of those things. I'm explicitly against the claim you made.
Like, if you're in favor of those things,
well,
then it's
those,
like, what really bothers me is that when people talk about this, when people even start to talk about, like, just, how left is divided by race, right? Like, I watched that you have with No Name and Say Andrew. This person's just saying, like, hey, my tweets aren't for you. You're calling this person a segregationist. That's my point.
Check this out. And I'm gonna go to the Uncle Bobby school of, like, shut the fuck up, fuckface. If you don't know who Robert Reed is, Uncle Bobby, Jen and Truth. Jen and Truth on YouTube is actually a pretty fun channel. But you put your information, you put your tweet out on social media. You don't own a part of a social media. You don't. People are going to see your fucking tweets and people are going to respond to it. It's something that happens. And for you to act as if, well, I wasn't talking to you, then make you a list of people that you want to see your tweets and do that. Just fucking do that. But to say, like, I wasn't talking to you, like, that's some bullshit. You were. You just didn't want you didn't want to have feedback by that group of people. That's what it is. And the fact that they can't feedback you, well, then you have a fucking issue, because how dare you give me feedback when I clearly said something that should piss you the fuck off? I don't give a fuck if you pissed off. Kiss my ass. My whole ass. Oh, look at the little kitty. But there's no such thing as a motherfucking... I'm sorry. You don't own... You can't tell me I can't respond to your tweets. Then take your shit off of social media. Yeah, this whole debate is a litmus test. Let's go.
Point is that people can't say their opinions without being called these extremes. People can't even talk about, like, wow, what would it be like to live in a world where we're not around the people who are oppressing us that time all the time? And then we talk about this, and then we start talking about separatism as this wild extreme. It's like,
here's the thing: if we was just to flip it and literally put white people on this shit to say this shit, it will be called racist. Yeah, that's not good, dog. I'm sorry. That's not fucking good. Just to say, like, okay, what if all of a sudden we had to be around the white people and other good shit? That's fucking racist, man. Racists say that shit all the time. They say that shit all the fucking time. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck what type of melanin you have in your motherfucking skin. If you want to be somebody that wants to be away from somebody just because of the color of their skin, you're fucking stupid, you're fucking hateful, and you're, most importantly, fearful and insecure. Do you think that it's something that's just inherently about a melanin tone in your motherfucking body that makes you superior or inferior? That makes you more inclined to hatred or not? What the fuck is wrong with you? You sound like a child. But let's continue.
There are separatism that I think is this wild extreme, but there's also
You're
separatism
doing
where
it back and forth. Just
I
to be
don't really
just to
think
be
it is, and we don't have room for this conversation.
So just to be clear, I don't think you have a right to live in a world without white people or in a country without white people. You keep dancing back and forth between these 2 points. I don't think any ethnic or racial group has a right to exclude or expel other ethnic or racial groups for any reason, no matter who was the colonized or the colonizer. Now, if we're talking about other policy to redistribute power or address differences or stuff like that, then absolutely, I'm on board with that, and I spend time on my platform advocating for those things. But the problem that I had with those no-name tweets is that it was like, my cultural product isn't for white people. I think that's essentially segregationist gatekeeping. Not, obviously not like, you know, one water fountain for the other type stuff. We're not talking about state power
But
here,
you can understand that there's black people who want to have black spaces. Like, you understand that.
No, I fucking don't. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't fucking understand that. The only people that I understand that want to have fucking just black spaces are fucking racist. I just want to have a family space with me and my immediate family. I want to have a friend space with me and my immediate friends. But just to say, like, hey, you just want to have a black space? Why? If you want to say, I want to have a fucking racist-free space, fuck. Some of those black people have to go too. God, this is so fucking frustrating. This is the telltale mark of somebody who's never had to fucking deal with people in a fucking legitimate way. This is just incredibly stupid. Because the way this shit sounds is that, hey, no. If you white, you automatically gonna be evil. This is how that shit sounds. And I'm sorry. I am fucking sorry if I don't just, well, of course this is how that is. No, it's fucking stupid. It is goddamn stupid. It sounds as if you're a child and you equate one group of people to just being irredeemably evil because reasons. Versus fully addressing the fact that, yo, it's some fucked up people no matter what color their skin is. But I know, I may not be, I may be, falling for the grudge for falling for the, like, no, this shit is incredibly fucking just frustrating. And this is all this 3 hours is. Just like, well, they should be, black people should be away from white people. I don't give a goddamn what fucking color your skin is. And it really just breaks down to what type of fucking melanin you have in your skin. If you saying hateful shit, then we and you gonna have an issue. And I'm sorry, maybe because, I grew up in a time and I've had to deal with, just people from all over the fucking spectrum. From racist ass white people to racist ass black people. Maybe I've had to deal with, living in Chicago where I've had to deal with a lot of fucking poor people, or white people that had to grow up fucking poor. And I've had to listen to the fucking history that they had to deal with. To where I say again, now, you have no idea of how many people live in the same poverty as others. Same poverty, different zip code. But people like Professor Flowers, they will never deal with shit like that. Say, oh, you whites, you must have benefits of the systems. You know, you may have 1 or 2 benefits of the systems, but same poverty, different zip codes. And yeah, half of RedTube was defending this shit. But hold on, guys. I'll be right back. God damn it, did I die? Fuck. I forgot this. I did K-pause the game. Alright, my fault. Let's go.
Yeah, as long as they're not like backed by the force of a state. Yeah.
Okay, well, No Name's just saying that this tweet is for white people, and you're calling that person a segregationist. That's like the kind of rhetoric I'm critiquing. And again, I'm not saying that you can't critique separatism.
That is the segregationist. That's the nature of segregation. That is the nature of segregation. Like, what the fuck? It's nice that a lot of these anti-white black leftists have, white boyfriends. Yeah, of course.
And that you can't like be on board with this stuff. What I'm saying is that your content that you're making is making such extremes where people talk about how they're frustrated with white people. People talk about how like, hey, we need spaces where it was with black people. This content isn't made for white people, so your opinion isn't as relevant here. When that's happening, you're calling these people segregationists. You're comparing everyone in this box to white nationalism. And what I'm saying is that's not a fair critique. I think it's okay if you're not okay with separatism, but what I'm saying is that these critiques and making these false equivalencies to white nationalism is unfair.
So here's the thing. A lot of this shit comes down to fucking just special pleading. Let's be honest. A lot of it comes down to special pleading. When they say that they want to be separated from black people because they don't like black people, then, it's bad. When I say it, well, because reasons is good, it's just fucking special pleading the fucking argument. And it's okay. Like, if you want to just say, like, motherfucking, I don't like to be around white people, that's fine. We gonna look at you funny, Some people will give you praise for it, but, in the end, you're just saying you don't want to be around white people. Own that shit. But let's go.
Well, I didn't.
Does that make sense? Does that clear things up?
Well, I didn't call No Name a white nationalist. I don't think. I don't remember the exact tweet thread.
You said that she was a segregationist.
Well, yeah, there were elements of that stuff that were pretty segregationist. I think. I don't have much respect for the
tweet that said this isn't for white people. That was it. That was the tweet.
Well, I think that was in response to some other stuff, right? Where people were criticizing something that she said, and she said that it's not for white people. I need to look at the thread again, but if I remember like the general gist of stuff, the thing that bothers me is that I think that the only real difference between doing that and somebody saying this content isn't for black people is really like broader societal power. I think it's really unproductive to suggest that racism can be fixed or addressed by reifying and reflecting a lot of the exclusionary tendencies that systemic racism brings about only through the lens of the oppressed, And No Name has done some stuff that I found pretty yikesy. I have to go back and look through the Twitter thread when I was having the conversation.
So, and if when I remember, No Name, isn't that the artist that is like really, 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 really pro-black and says that she doesn't make her music for white people. And she even stopped saying, I'm gonna stop doing concerts because white people enjoy my music too much. Like, and wasn't she also the one who actually said that she didn't like the fact that white people were using the N-word in her song, and instead of saying, well, maybe I'm not gonna put songs out without using the N-word, because I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. I'm black as shit, and in my conversations outside of this, I use the N-word, but because I don't want people to say it as, oh my God, Crimson, you're using the N-word, so I want to use the N-word. I just don't get on stream and just use the N-word. That's just a thing that I don't do. I know, weird, right? All right, where's my thralls? Yeah, okay. Where's my thralls? I just don't use the N-word. But a lot of these people, they want to use the motherfucking N-word. They want to actually just say that, hey, no matter what I say, you can't do the shit that I want to do. There we go. Come here, Crimson. But let's go. No Name says she just watches ebony porn. Oh my God. The fuck?
With the person who was defending those tweets, it also feels to me sometimes like we're not really talking about justice. We're just talking about some black people don't really like being around white people, which I guess is you're right, but I don't think that's like a morally defensible political movement, But
you don't understand why there are black people who don't want to be around white people.
I understand why there are white people who don't want to be around black people, but I don't give them much moral credence either. I get why they want it. I just don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
Like, why?
No, I haven't played Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate, the last new game I bought was Spider-Man. And I may actually get Alan Wake 2, depending on how fast I do goddamn Max Payne and Alan Wake and all that other good shit. Alright, let's go.
People who have to deal with racist shit all the time are like, hey, I don't want to be around the people who keep on making racist shit.
Well,
do I understand it right, or like I don't understand?
Well, I think you can say
what's the issue with that?
Well, I think you can say I want an anti-racist space, but what you've just done there is essentialize racism as something only white people can express and something black people don't express. And I can tell you from my experiences online, there are a lot of black people who are pretty goddamn racist in all directions, and there are a lot of white people who aren't. If you want an
So, and this is what I was saying just a few minutes ago. This is exactly what I was saying just a few minutes ago. If you want to say that, hey, we don't want a racist space, cool, beans. That's awesome. I'm with you on that one. I don't want a racist space either. But just to say, like, yeah, it's just because these white people here that is racist, no, that's not how that works, dog. That's not how that works, Chief. There are a lot of people that would do and say some racist shit, no matter what skin color they are. And I'm sorry. I am fucking sorry. If that's news to you, welcome to motherfucking Earth. Oh, cool, neat. But let's go.
A racist space. Go for it. Godspeed. Make more of them. But when you essentialize it as like a white-black thing, I think that can lead to a lot of really bad roads,
I don't understand like why it's wrong if a black person's like, I'm talking to black people right now. Well, and I think a lot of white people aren't going to get it.
Well, I mean,
I don't understand.
Okay, cool. I can explain why. Why is it that you think that just talking to people with a certain amount or a certain type of melanin in their skin, it makes them understand something one way or another? Seriously. Fucking seriously. Why? If you were to say that I'm talking to people that live in a fucking hood, and hood people would actually get what I'm trying to say, that's different. if you're saying that I'm only talking to people that, you know, may have experienced poverty as a fucking youth, then cool. That's you know, people who experience poverty as a youth may understand what you have to say. Fuck. I gotta get back up here. God damn it. I gotta fucking climb all the way back up there. Anyway, if you want to actually say that shit, say that shit. If you want to deal with if you want to talk to, she's confused. She needs to get off social media for a while. When she did, because she said she got threats, she still came back as fucking vengeful and spiteful as ever. So you know, it's not just social media. It's her personality. It's some shit that she had to deal with, that she has to deal with outside of just social media. But like, I will destroy you. All this is about is she doesn't like white people, and it's carrying water for people who also don't like white people. But let's continue.
Like how that leads to bad things, and like that's just like a reality that Black people are dealing with all the time. Where they try to talk with white people about racism, and then they're called a white nationalist, they're called a segregation. Like you know what I'm saying? Like your content is actually the perfect example of why it's like, yeah, we need Black spaces, and if you want Black people to stop needing Black spaces more, then you got to stop comparing Black people to.
Wait. Did she just say Vosh's content is why they need more Black people with more Black spaces? I'm confused with that one. How is his content indicative of why we need more Black people's spaces? I'm sorry about that one. I don't understand that one. That one seems a little bit peculiar to me. How is that so? Wow, that's weird. That is weird right there. Okay, let's go.
White nationalists whenever you disagree with them.
Well,
you know
I don't every time I disagree with them. I think that's a pretty bad characterization of my position.
Sorry, when so many times you disagree with them. My bad.
I found the tweet from No Name that I really took issue with. Do you mind if I read it? Just because we've talked about it, so I think the context is relevant.
Sure.
No Name said, "Why are white leftists more eager to unify with radicalized communities than organizing your own people first? Unity with Black people is meaningless as long as the masses of white people are indoctrinated into white supremacy and liberalism. Please don't speak to me about police." The last sentence being in reference to the
that's
tweet
actually not the tweet that I'm talking about.
Oh, is there a different tweet?
Not the tweet I'm talking about.
How many No Name tweets do I dislike?
There's two. There's one in a video from earlier. I guess I can try to find it. But
well, I'd say that tweet that I just read, though, is kind of an indicator of the behavior that I don't like. It's essentially saying, hey, white leftists, you know, you have a quota of white people you have to de-radicalize before you're allowed to interact with the Black community, which seems like such pointless, unproductive, like, gatekeeping. Like, what is that? How does that improve anything with regards to racism besides, like, making white leftists feel more awkward and uncomfortable talking about race issues? You know?
Sorry, I'm like...
And this has been the characterization of a lot of the fucking conversation. Professor Flowers goes on this rant about how, yo, Black people need to have a space of their own. And when Vosh brings up a topic, like, okay, this sounds really, really bad the way it's said or the way it's read. Because reasons. Well, because reasons. You don't get it? It's because reasons. Fuck you. But let's go.
Your lane, you know? I don't think it's okay to say stay in your lane to Black people. I don't. Seems like kind of.
I think there is a lane that like white people are in. That tweet kind of confused me because hold on, let me just pull it up because
we're all in one lane, and it's the lane of life, you know? We're on the Autobahn.
Okay, that was cheesy as shit. I'm not saying it was bad, but that was cheesy. I'm sorry, but yeah, no. Stay in your lane. What is my lane? That sounds like a whole stay in your place type shit. And I'm sorry, I don't have a fucking place. I don't have a place. I have whatever the fuck I want to say. If I'm wrong about something, I'm wrong about something. But for you to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I shouldn't have an opinion about shit, when it's not coming from a place of just like, shut the fuck up, it lets me know that, hey, maybe you just don't want criticism. But let's go.
It's just one giant road. I guess the Autobahn
Oh my God.
has lanes too.
We're in the lane of life. It's like just kind of completely like ignores like the racial divides that actually exist. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wouldn't it be nice if we were all
Wait. But again, Professor Flowers is supposed to be a leftist. She's supposed to be a leftist. It should not be a racial divide per se. She's supposed to be moving past the racial divide. And that's the fucked up part about it. Why is there a racial divide? And nobody who's watched this debate and commented on this debate has actually said why it should be a racial divide. Everybody is saying, well, Vosh knew what he had her on. He knew she wasn't comfortable. She didn't really know how to defend herself. My question is, out of all this shit that's being said on here, why does she keep bringing up, oh, race is important, when she's supposed to be a leftist? She's supposed to be a leftist. Her thing is she is supposed to be a leftist. Maybe I'm missing something. You know, maybe I'm just not understanding, what leftism is. But I thought being a leftist means that you're supposed to be, kind of against the racialization of peoples. I'm so confused with this because it's leftism only to fulfill her specific brand of wanting revenge. She'll use the black people can't read racist line. Yeah, of course. And she doesn't get that wanting to be separate from white people just because they're white is fucking racist. Let's go.
all in the lane of life, but we're not. We have like all these issues that we have to deal with for us to actually be able to see each other as that.
Well, by the lane, I don't mean like liberal colorblindness. I mean that I think that people of any race have a right to talk on any issue. I think cis people should be able to speak confidently on trans issues, white people on black issues, black people on white issues, and so on. I think that trying to keep that from happening leads to a lot of really weird community gatekeeping that's just bad for our political goals.
So you can do that. You can definitely like speak on behalf of other people, but I think the huge issue is that people need to really understand what they're talking about.
But it's not speaking on behalf. Oh my God, she just doesn't get it. When did you can speak on an issue? That's not speaking on behalf of a group of people. It's almost as if she's either not listening or not capable of listening because her motherfucking bias. And we're going to say it's because of her bias. That she's just not listening. But let's continue.
About. You need to go to these communities and go, hey, what's up? What are you dealing with? And then you can talk with them in the context of trying to represent them as close as possible. And before you talk with them, you have to like go back and be like, hey, did I understand this correctly? Did I get this right? That can take so much time to do. But I think people shouldn't be trying to represent anybody if they don't.
Whoa, 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 whoa. We know that she's friends with FD Signifier, who doesn't believe in that shit either. But, you know, maybe this is an excuse to say, like, well, you should go and talk to that community and really understand it, then go back and double understand it and triple understand it, and that takes so much time that you can't say shit about it. That's literally the plan that she just laid out. Talk to the community, listen to them, then go away for some reason, then double check, then go back and triple check, so much so that you can't say anything about it.
Understand what they're talking about. That's kind of my issue. Like in the issue of like No Name's tweet, for example, like again, in this video that I watched, like you said that this person was a segregationist.
Well, I need to see
like,
the tweet to understand the context.
Okay, let me find it.
It's okay. I didn't mean to send you on a hunt for it or anything. I thought that I had found it. I didn't realize there were 2 tweets I took issue with. Out of curiosity, which Democratic primary candidate did you support back during the primaries?
I voted for Biden.
Oh, I voted for Biden.
Didn't want to, but you know.
But what about in the primaries? Who'd you support before all the candidates got crunched?
I really was hoping that Bernie would win, and then I also heard about some other candidates that I really liked, like Gloria LaRiva, but I didn't think that there was going to be enough people who voted for her, even though I liked her policies more than Bernie. So I still stuck with Bernie.
So this is the issue, right? Because the black community didn't side with Bernie; they sided with Biden. So would my support for Bernie back during the primaries have been an indication that I was failing to listen to the needs of the black community? Or do you think that I have like a right to, for my own reasons and my own opinions, disagree with that community to support an agenda of racial reform that's with a candidate they don't necessarily support with? You could go the same direction with like abolishing the police. A lot of the black community didn't support abolish the police. It was mostly people like us, largely online, young, leftist radicals who supported that. So is this an issue of us making...
And so here's the thing. And I'm going to say this, and this is one of my things with me and somebody who's online a lot. I watch a lot of politics. I watch a lot of online entertainment is online. I don't watch local shit. I barely watch local news. Abolish the police sounds really, really, really motherfucking great. But when you're living in a community where there is shit that the police do that's bad, but still protect you from, you kind of get in a love-hate relationship. I'm sorry. It's just fucked up as it is. And sometimes you don't want the police gone. And yes, a lot of young leftists online, mostly who grew up in the suburbs, has that sentiment of, yeah, we got to get rid of the motherfucking police. They've never had lived in conditions where, how come you didn't tell me this before? They never lived in the conditions where it was, the police are a fucking evil that we don't like, but it's fucking necessary. I have, and again, being an adult, you know, we had to deal with, I've lived almost 42 years in this fucking world. Most of these people who say that shit have not lived past 25. So miss me with that shit. Am I saying the police are great? No. Fuck. Especially not in Chicago, where literally a chief of police was arrested and convicted of sticking the barrel of his gun down a suspect's throat. Not just like, oh, I'm going to put the gun in. Like, no, he stuck it down his throat and said he was going to motherfucking cap the inside of his intestines. But again, terminating online shit had to grow up with a little bit more privilege than what people who are living in the fucking struggle have to live with. And it's just fucking sad. But let's go.
Making a mistake by ignoring them? Or do you think it's okay to advocate for racial issues without necessarily deferring to the group opinion of black people?
I think the issue is that you need to like listen to what people are saying. Like, for example, like when and again, I define like listening as not just doing whatever people say, but seeking understanding. So like when I talk about how I went to vote for Bernie and ended up voting for Biden because it was lesser two evils, there are other people out there who are like, well, if I voted for Bernie, I don't think that would make a difference. And when I first hear that, I'm like, that's really wild because, you know, like Bernie has sparked the socialist movement in America. Even though he's not a true socialist, he got a lot of people interested.
You don't fucking believe in the socialist movement. Fuck you. Fuck you. You don't believe in the socialist movement. Like, fuck this shit. Fuck this shit. You don't believe in the socialist movement. You believe in fucking revenge. You believe in America bad, so yeah, let's socialism good. You don't believe in the socialist movement. I'm sorry. Fuck you. And the thing about it is, I fucking hate there's so many of fucking bread tube and especially cornbread tube fell down this fucking pipeline because it's this seemingly cis white guy talking to a black woman. And it's got so much bullshit. And the thing about it is, what made it even worse is when you start seeing people just start showing their whole ass. T1J. Awesome creator. Until he started falling down this bullshit. This bullshit right here. Where he did a video with FD Signifier. Where he's like, oh, all black people look alike. Or he said Bernie was saying that he had a one black friend when Bernie was saying, no, I was out there marching with the civil rights movement. All to feed into this whole fucking idea of, oh, if you ain't black, you don't understand. Let's go.
In it, who's a very inspiring person. And then when I hear people talk about like why they don't like Bernie, it's usually a lot of black people who grew up really poor, and it's black people who are really mad at Bernie for like signing the bail on super predators, even though he wasn't the only part of that. But people lost so much hope in this person, and people are like, listen, at the end of the day, whoever we vote in, the structure of
wait, nobody, no fucking body that says they don't like Bernie is anywhere near to say, oh, because he signed a bill on super predators. Fuck you. Fuck you. Why the fuck would you pull that out of your whole ass? Fuck you. Because if they know anything about that super predators bill, then why the fuck wouldn't they have an issue with Joe Biden? Fuck you. You are a lying sack of shit for that. Oh, they're political savvy to know that Bernie stood up for the motherfucking crime bill. If they're that politically savvy, they would know the reason because he put in the Violence Against Women Act. Wow, that's dishonest as shit. That is dishonest as shit. Mind you, both Bernie and Biden was on the fucking ballot. And for you leftists that weren't old enough to be there and weren't old enough to know, you know, a lot of black people were for that crime bill. A lot of people were for that black crime bill because the neighborhoods were in fucking terror due to gangs and the drug war. Like, yeah. Exactly. Wow. Fucking wow. That was dishonest as shit. I swear to God. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just that dishonesty level of dishonesty was stupid to me. But let's go.
Voting into is still white supremacist structure. So we need to figure out how to fight the system just by trying to vote for less of the two evils. And I think there's space to have that conversation and still maybe vote for Biden, for example, because he's a lesser two evils. Like we don't have to just have like one or the other. There needs to be space for that conversation to have. Because when I listen to Black people, especially Black people who grew up poor, who are like, I don't like Bernie, even though my initial reaction is like, wow, I love Bernie, what's wrong? Like when I hear why they don't like Bernie, I'm like, wow, you really have been fucked over by this person, and that makes sense. So maybe we should talk more about how to fight this system by instead of just voting for the lesser of two evils. And that conversation can't even take place because the people who are saying vote for the lesser of two evils are like, shut the fuck up. And that's an issue.
No, I agree it's important to be able to have that conversation, but what you're talking about right now is what you do when you disagree with the Black community. And I guess that's kind of my question, right? Because what happens if I disagree with the community you're telling me to defer to? I see this a lot from people on the left I disagree with, that if I say something they don't like, they tell me to, well, you should listen to Black people, you should listen to trans people. But you said earlier, you think it's okay for white people to speak on behalf of Black people. I am not speaking on behalf of anyone with any of my positions. When I speak in favor of trans rights, I am not speaking on behalf of trans people. Only my own opinions. They could all disagree with me and I'd still say what I say. I don't care if every one of them disagrees with me. I believe what I believe is right, not because they tell me to, but because I've argued it and I've thought about these positions, and I try to arrive at whatever I think I can best defend. So sometimes it's a bit odd to me. It's almost like we prioritize a sort of in-group deference to the opinions of minorities over the ability to actually formulate and defend an argument. And then like you get people who exploit that on the right. Blair White, who when I debated her said she thought it was odd that a cis man would be critiquing her for transphobia, or Candace Owens, who
it was basically an e-break situation. Yeah, it was. Man, yeah. They the whole crime bill was just like, we got to do something to stop this shit. As heavy-handed as it was, we got to do something to stop this shit. And what Vasha's saying right here is very important. And this is why I kind of evolved on like saying like people like Candace Owens weren't Black, or people like no, they like, dude, and I've said it before. Why would I take away somebody like Candace Owens' Blackness or Gothic's Blackness? No, they need it because that's the shield that they had behind to say shit. Now, I'm not going to take away their shield. I'm just going to destroy the fuck out of it and then show why their points are fucking stupid. The fact of the matter is this. Oh, I thought that was the big one. No, that's the big one. Come here, motherfucker! I'm sorry. But, yeah, no. The fact is, a lot of these motherfuckers, just because you're part of the group that's being fucking marginalized, doesn't mean you can't have hatred for that group. Or that doesn't mean that you can't just be a bad representation of that group. In newsflash, one person should be a representation of a fucking demographic that they had no choice to be born into. I'm sorry. If you're a representation of, let's just say, the police, you choose to be part of that. Of the fucking clergy, you choose to be part of that. Nobody's given an option of whether they want to be born cis or not, or straight or not, or motherfucking male or female. Nobody's given an option before they're born. So how the fuck can you be judged by that? Be judged by your actions and the relationships that you choose to have. But let's go.
who calls everything that breathes at her racist. There are people who exploit this like liberal identity politic tendency in a way that I think makes it really difficult for us to make our arguments.
Yeah, I think the thing is that you need to make sure that like the people that you're representing, like let's say like there's like disagreements or something. They're all obviously like no one's a monolith. There's gonna be people who have all these different views. First, I think it's still important to try to understand like why are there all these people with different views in these communities. And then secondly, if there's someone where like, okay, I'm like really standing with you, I think you need to really understand like why they're saying what they're saying, and then run it by them before saying more than that. And then if people critique you, for example, try to actually really understand why they're critiquing you instead of just calling them like a white nationalist or something or a segregation.
Well, what if
So here's the thing. For a lot of these people who say that black people can't be racist and all that other good shit, they will clap and confirm and hoop and holler the moment you call a white person that exhibits half of these signs a racist. And again, it's not that I want to actually just take it from the realm of just it being malicious, because so many people, they're just too fucking stupid to realize that they're fucking being malicious. It's a cognitive bias. It's a special pleading bias. And stupid is the wrong word. Ignorant. I want to say ignorant. Because here's the thing. Unless you recognize that you're not a good person, and just recognize that, yo, you can have some issues in what you believe, you're not going to sit back and say that, you know, a belief I have is bad. You're not going to say, yeah, I may have 10% good on here, but on this one, I'm kind of like 90% bad. Or shit like that. Everybody wants to believe they're a 100% good person. And this is one of my... And I'm going to let the cat out the bag here. This is one of the reasons why I have some problems watching some of the Xanderhal shit. Is because it's just this implicit... All of these people are bad. All of these people are evil. No matter what level of group they are. And it's easy for you to separate out a certain amount of group of people. It's really fucking easy. But when it comes down to, you know, nuance takes and shit like that, it gets hard, it gets messy, the lines get gray, and it's very, very, very hard. It's just easy to say, like, all of them are bad, they're all evil. I mean, like, what do you expect, right? And I get why it's so easy for people to do that. I fucking get it. I totally get it. But it's not helpful. It's not fucking helpful. And what ends up happening is, and what's happening throughout this whole conversation is that Professor Flowers is saying that white people bad. That's all that she's saying. And I know she's not thinking that she's saying that. I know she's thinking that, well, I just think that a lot of white people are racist, and a lot of people who benefited from the racism that, you know, happened with black people. But she's just literally saying, white people bad. Oh. That's the reason why I'm doing this video. That's exactly the reason why I'm doing this video. But let's go.
That's
like, that
what I
looks
think, though.
really different than what's happening right now.
Oh, what if that's what
you
I think?
Seems extremely ignorant to start calling people segregationists. Like, you literally said that St. Andrew wanted to start a race war. It's like, come on, St. Andrew.
I need the I need the context.
Don't say that shit then. Well, it was in the same video as the No Name thing, and I found the No Name tweet where he called her a segregationist. The tweet is, "Why do white people follow my every move? This shit is not for you." And then you were like, "Well, I'm not a segregationist like this person." I'm just like,
I guess I just think that stuff is really...
For starters, just don't do that.
I guess I just think that stuff is really weird, especially as a big public figure, you know? To be a really huge public figure, and then for what seems to me like no reason at all. Like, why make it a race thing? Like, you can make it a racism thing.
It is a race thing. It's already a race thing. What do you mean, make it a race thing?
It's a race.
And it goes to this whole thing of... And I have to talk with a friend of mine where, like, a lot of conservatives are just like, you know what? Everybody's racist. A lot of conservatives are just like just everybody's racist. And they feel they've been beaten down so much that they feel like, you know, what they do is going to be racist. No, and he did. It's just more, and a lot of the, with the Zan thing, is just that it's more still of the, how he still is learning to separate different groups. And for a while, Vosh did this shit too. Oh God. Oh, Kevin, you just want me to fucking put my head through a fucking wall, do you? I mean, like, I would put my head through a couch, but I like my couch, so I'm not gonna punch my couch. You know, fucked up part about that whole punching the couch shit over fucking Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, this is before Bad Bunny did her turn to the motherfucking left. Mike, the socialist, punched his couch over the N-word saying, I don't like, gay people saying Bad Bunny. He was ready to punch a couch. That, oh my God. All right, let's get back to this video. We're not. Let's go.
Racism thing. If there's racism, you can call out racism without like being like, oh, this isn't for this racial group, Like, now I admit I engage in language here sometimes that's a bit irresponsible. I make plenty of jokes about.
What is the difference between saying this isn't for this racial group or this isn't for white people? What's the difference? Can you explain that?
Oh, great. I can explain that. Saying this isn't for this racial group is racist. Saying this isn't for this isn't for white people is letting you know which racist group you're being racist against. That's the thing. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. That's the thing. That's the difference. Saying this isn't for this racial group is saying that, hey, it's one racial group that I don't like, and then saying this is this racial group that I don't like is just putting a name to it. So there's a difference. Because one, you're being ambiguous. The other one, you're just flat out saying it. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? All right, let's go.
I mean, if you want to be super like nuanced about it, you could talk about how there are elements of the black experience that are carried through in her work, and a lot of white people aren't necessarily familiar with them, so they might not be able to pick up on some of the elements of her art. I think not only is that totally defensible, I think it's more understandable. But if you want it to be sort of like a punchy tweet, I think you can just say a lot of people not understanding the black experience in my art. Maybe it's not for you or something. But when you're calling out white people specifically,
why can't you just say it's not for white people? Like, why is that? Why is that okay?
Because
there's people who don't understand this.
Because literally, there are white people that understand the black experience. I'm sorry, they may not fully understand it as much as you want to say it is, but they can. And if you don't understand that, if you think that one racial group, because the amount of melanin in their motherfucking skin precludes some cognitive disability, you sound just like racist white people said that black people could never learn how to read because of their dark skin. I'm sorry. You literally sound stupid. Oh my God. That's just it. Well, you can understand it because you're white. Like, no. That's not how this shit works, man. I gotta come back here when I got more space in my inventory.
It wasn't supposed to be like this.
It wasn't supposed to be like this.
Oh, God. I'm coming back. All right. Part of me wants to excuse Professor Bowser saying she was an infant on she was infant on never she was intent on never arguing with Wash on anything, but a lot of this is just her doing the racial essentialist mindset. Yeah, no, of course. That's the thing. She wanted to come on, she wanted to make her little brownie comment, and then she's gonna get kicked off like, oh, fuck this person, and then kick off her stream. But Vosh did something that you should let all races do. Let them talk and ask them what they mean. Shaking my damn head. Some customers caught me off guard and laughing at the stream. Oh God, that's why I gotta be careful because I'm sorry. If I were to watch streams while I was doing work, I would have earphones on and yeah, shit. Don't get caught. That's all I gotta say. Don't get caught. Oh God. All right, let's go. Let's go.
You're saying like this isn't for white people. Why is that like a hill to die on? I don't understand.
Because it's racist. I don't think being an oppressor or the oppressed makes that type of behavior any more justifiable morally. Now, it is more harmful, and I want to be clear on this. It's absolutely more
So it
harmful
would be
when
better.
oppressor groups do this. I'm not denying that. If like a
would
white
it be
person,
better if no names said that it's better, like this is for not for most white people, so that wouldn't have been racist. Saying it's not for white people is racist.
Why do you have to say white people? That's the problem. Oh my God, you don't get why do you have to say white people? Just like this is for people who haven't shared my experience, and then let everybody else fill the shit in. That way, you don't have your criticism. You're not being accused of being anything bad, or you don't have to fight back. Just like, hey, if you haven't had my lived experience, you wouldn't understand it. Just say that. Leave it as ambiguous as you possibly can. Like me, like I can say I like thick women. What do I mean by thick women? I don't. You tell me. Do I like thick women, or do I like thick women? You never know unless you see. Oh God, God, like, no. The thing about it is, the thing about race is they have to tell you exactly why they motherfucking want to be specific to certain people. But let's go.
I guess the
Is that a
language.
distinguish we're making?
I guess the language I would prefer is that maybe a lot of white people wouldn't understand this because it's informed by black experience. I mean, white people are
And
expected
so
to be.
since she didn't say it that way, she's a segregationist.
Well-
She should have worded it just slightly different.
well,
She should word it a little bit different. Then
you
she
should
wouldn't be
know this.
segregation. But because she worded it that way, she's a segregationist.
Small differences in how you phrase things can be really important when you're talking about race issues. How many white people, like white comedians or politicians or whatever, have said statements that are basically the same, but one of them gets you canceled and one doesn't, you know? Like the difference between saying blacks and black people. That's an incredibly tiny difference in linguistics, but it leads to a massive change in the tone of a sentence. So yeah, I think when it comes to stuff like this, it's okay to critique huge public figures on the way in which they convey some of these arguments. Maybe
So
that was just
do you
a
know
bad day for them.
why? Do you know why that's frustrating? Do you know why? Like if people say like blacks versus
Wait, what? Here, what up? Just join, and yeah, we were going over this classic. The fact is, this is a very, 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 very good point. This is an incredibly good point. If you heard somebody say, "Oh, the blacks, they have an issue with," versus the black people have an issue with something, like even at the same tone, you would take those two different kind of fucking ways. You definitely would. And I wait, and I can predict, and of course I'll talk the debate. I can predict what Professor Flowers is gonna say. It's incredibly unfair that we have to have the moral weight of motherfucking of having to deal with parsing our words in a way where it sounds more easier for white people to understand. Yes, it's incredibly unfair. And if you're working with community building, restoration, and motherfucking I don't know, coming together, that's the price that you fucking pay. But if you're in the I want revenge, but I want to just have my power level, fuck you. Nazis learn how to do this shit. You should learn how to do this shit. Of course, another thing that became very apparent is that Professor is a bad case of thinking herself as the main. Of course, she's the main character. She's not only the main character, she's a self-insert character for the author.
versus black people? Do you know why?
Yeah, I get that. The blacks just comes
Yeah.
off as kind of fundamentally dehumanizing. It sounds like when you say homosexuals, you know, it comes off like you're putting the demographic characteristic first and foremost, whereas black people is humanizing because, well, people is right there in the term.
So can you maybe like think about like the historical context of like the dehumanization of black people versus like the context of black people talking about white people or talking about racism? Like, can you understand like how that context makes a difference, and that it's a false equivalency to be like, oh, it's the same thing if a white person, you know, says like the blacks, you know, versus if a black person says white people.
So,
Can you understand that when people are saying white people, they're talking about an entire system that has created like a white identity,
So,
right?
while
Because white
that
people
is-
were always.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? you're telling me that it and this is the shit that I hate. I fucking hate what a lot of these people, they sit back and they say this shit. And they say it with a straight face, like, of course it's not difficult to advocate for a coming together of people that have historically been fucking hostile to each other. I'm sorry, that's the price you pay? That's the price you pay. Is that not the price you want to pay too? If you're just trying to openly be hostile to a group of people and you find it hard without people calling you a motherfucking racist, then I'm sorry. I don't have any empathy for you. I know saying I'm sorry and not having any empathy, but like and I have just about as much empathy I hear from fucking white racists that have that's trying to hide what they're trying to say about black people. Just as much empathy. Just as much empathy as you would want me to have for those white racist people. Why don't we say it like that? I have just as much empathy as you would want me to have for those white racist people.
White.
Well, that is sometimes...
that was created in order to justify racism and slavery. Can you understand that, like, when you unpack that, it's a different story?
So, while that is often the case, that critiques of whiteness, and by the way, when you're making systemic critiques, you say whiteness, not whites, but that when you do that, you're talking broadly about the institutional whiteness rather than like white people as a racial group. The problem is, not only did she not really come off that way, but additionally, I think it's kind of silly to pretend that there aren't black people who just are kind of shitty to white people in a way that doesn't have a sort of institutional bias behind it. Again, I want to make it clear, the context that you're using to distinguish between those two things affect harm. But in terms of intent, there is nothing about being white that inherently makes you more racist. There are tons of black people who don't want their children intermixing with white children, you know, like they don't want the interracial marriages.
Do you know what, like, do you know, like, how...
No, she is not about to go... I think I remember this part. She's about to defend black parents not wanting their black children to marry white people. She's about to go. If I remember correctly, she's about to go hard on this, seeing that she's of mixed racial background herself. She's about to go hard on this. And this, I mean, like, I'm sorry, like, a lot of this conversation, if I was Vosh, I would have charged for this shit, because some of this shit was just literally her being motherfucking, venting her motherfucking, I think it's here, but I know she has some hangups about not being 100% black. Like, she feels she's lesser because she's not. And I know it was in this conversation. She had this conversation, but I know maybe it was here, maybe it was somewhere else. But let's go.
Being white came about, because you're saying that there's like nothing inherently racist about being white. Do you know how being white came about?
The race of being white. Whiteness is a. I wish you'd not patronize me.
Just like the construction of.
I wish you'd not patronize me. I'm a sociology major. I know.
I will just. Weren't you okay? Just to clear it up, someone said that you were like a criminology major. Is that true, or like?
I participated in a criminological grad experiment and helped along with it significantly. I'm a sociology major.
So that was yours. So the sociology major and like the criminology thing are two separate things.
No, they're not.
That all bleeds together. That and communications were the three things that I studied in college.
Okay. I'll try not to be patronizing. I'll do my best. I'll just talk about like what the white race is, because I was asking if you understand what that is, because you were saying that it's not like inherently racist.
Well, no,
I'm just gonna like talk about that.
No. I was saying white people aren't inherently racist. There's nothing about being white that makes you inherently racist. I know that whiteness as a historical concept was constructed as a way of culturally and genealogically distinguishing Europeans from other groups of people, which they used as the foundation for epistemologically justifying the existence of racism and slavery. I understand that. I know that. But
Right,
being
right.
white, a
So
white person...
literally, before there was even white people, there was just like European people colonizing America. They created the term white to make this distinction between indigenous people and to also justify slavery. And then that continued on for hundreds of years, where it's like being white was literally the construction of a caste system. So it's like that continued. So historically, yes, being white comes with all these racial issues.
Well,
I don't know, again, if it's a cognitive thing, which I doubt is a cognitive thing. I really think more or less it's a cognitive bias that's like just blocking her from understanding the fact of what she's actually saying also. When you say that it is quite literally white people, because they're white, are just racist because reasons, you don't endear any type of I don't know, charity, any type of goodwill. It doesn't just, it just sounds as if you're saying that, oh no, because white racist. Because white racist. And that's so telling of how she feels about a lot of people. And it's sad. It's fucking sad. Dude, there is a difference from being the whiteness. I would even agree with that. The whole thing of that, like if somebody says, well, that shouldn't be right because I'm white, or that's wrong because I'm white, that's playing into the racist. But if you're filling out a fucking motherfucking census, if you're filling out a job application, and you're just filling it out because you're saying, and you're just clicking white, you're not playing into being a racist. But to Professor Flowers, if you call yourself, identify any way being white, then you're racist. That's stupid.
And we want to get to the point where we deal with those racial issues, so that way we all really can't be just people.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying
okay, or is that like...
Well, I wasn't gatekeeping any of the things you said behind academic jargon. You don't need to ask me if it's okay. Look, I'm just saying I don't think that being
Am I
racist...
gatekeeping stuff behind academic... This is critical race theory. This is why it's fucked up that it's banned, because you all need to read some critical race theory, okay? It wouldn't be academic jargon if you all just like listened and read a little bit.
I've read it. I read it extensively before my debate with Charlie Kirk. I probably know a good deal about it relative to the average person. But I'm not talking about critical race theory.
Maybe it's not gatekeeping behind...
She is literally try to belittle this man about fucking knowledge. And yet, when it's like, well, you just can't understand it. Dude, I fucking read it. I know what the fuck is going on. This is that shit. This is when you believe that because you black, you know everything about being black. Let's go.
Into academic jargon.
No,
I'm just talking about racism.
I'm not gatekeeping you. You asked me if I was okay with your definition when I never asked you for one. Look, the only point that I'm making here is that I do not think that white people are like the inherently racist group of people. For example, if you go over to China, it seems like despite not being white, the Chinese people over there are pretty goddamn racist against black people, a group none of them have ever met well, most of them haven't met in person. Over here in America,
why
is
that?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the cultural context you're raised in. China's an authoritarian country, and they're also pretty rabidly xenophobic. Over here in America, there are a lot of black people that are racist against white people. I don't think that racism carries the same weight or harm.
A huge part of the world being racist towards black people comes from American media.
Yeah.
Directly.
Yeah, I know.
My brother identifies as Syrian because we're 25th. in the college app, and he had an interview. He didn't go. The thing about it is, and what she just said was just incredibly fucking telling. I just, oh my god, fuck. Let's go back for a second, because I want to actually highlight this.
There are a lot of black people that are racist against white people. I don't think that racism carries the same weight or harm you're raised in. China's an authoritarian country, and they're also pretty rabidly xenophobic. Over here in America,
She's not even listening. She's not even listening. Oh my god, she's not even listening. She's not even listening. Fuck. All right. So here's the thing. She low key just blamed white people in America for the reason why China is racist. And I know you're thinking like Crimson, like that's a fucking stretch. How the fuck did you just say that shit? Like she low key called the reason why Chinese people are in China are a decorative iron bar. Oh, that's got to be some bullshit. Are low key racist. Because reasons. Yeah, she of course. And that's the thing, like China has been very xenophobic from our history of knowing of what China is since China. That's just a thing that happens. That is just a thing that happens. China has been xenophobic since the history of China that we've known. I don't know what else to tell. Like you're right. She didn't engage with it. She just said reasons and kept it moving. But let's go.
There are a lot of black people that are racist against white people. I don't think that racism carries the same weight or harm.
A huge part of the world being racist towards black people comes from American media.
Yeah.
Directly.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a big America stan.
American media made by white people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think white people are the only group.
Racism towards black people because white people. The fuck? The whole American Diabloism is strong with this motherfucker. Oh, wow. Exactly.
That are racist. I think other people with other races are. So that's the point that I'm making. The reason why I'm being particular about No Name's language is because I think that all of us are capable of racial bias, and on issues that are sensitive like this, it's probably important to be
When did she
particular.
say that people aren't? Like, I don't understand. When did No Name say that that the only racial biases that are ever had are by white people?
She didn't say that. That was the point I was making. She was just making an inarticulate statement that came off as kind of racially exclusionary to me.
Are her name's pronouns she? Or like, did I get their pronouns wrong?
Whose pronouns?
No Names. I just want to make sure I haven't been misgendering that person.
Why? Fucking why? All of a sudden now it's because the first thing that this gonna be said, well, Vosh doesn't respect people's pronouns. When you have no arguments, you fall back to virtue signaling. The same way this Candace Owens does, the same way that motherfucking Blair White does, the same way a lot of these motherfuckers do when you're fucking just a bigot and you want to fall back to virtue signaling. Not that it doesn't hurt, it hurts all these other people. Not that it's like, wow, when you have no arguments, you fall back to virtue signal. Fuck. When losing an argument, focus on pronouns. All right, let's go. Oh God, we've only done 38 minutes.
Is it?
Yeah, I didn't know what they are. If they were any. Chat, do you know?
Okay, I'll just say No Name from now on, just in case, because I don't want to
Okay, well, the
Mess
point
it up.
I'm making is we should all be careful when we talk about stuff like this. So when I would like to talk about like being careful, the language you used in your first video about me was explicitly.
Okay.
Wait, no, wait, please let me finish.
I'm sorry. Okay,
The
sorry.
video-
I'm gonna let you finish.
The video that you did, the first video that you made on me, explicitly said that colonized people should have the right to choose whether to live with their oppressors. Now, when we're talking about live with, I assume you don't mean literally like room and board. I assume you mean a country. And that is explicitly an endorsement of ethno-nationalism, of deportation or genocide. There's no way to remove a large racial group from a country without genocide. There's just no way around it. You can't, like...
That's just not true. Like, literally, I just gave examples of people in Africa who, like in Kenya, for example, like the way they got colonized people out is they retook the businesses that colonized people took, and because they didn't have any economic interest in there, they left. Now, that's still not separatism.
Wait.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, God. Oh, God. Here it comes. Here it comes. Oh, my God. Why did I decide to do this to myself? Why did I decide to do this to myself? I didn't. Why? Why did I decide to do this to myself? Fucking why? Here we go.
Because there's still white people who live in Kenya,
So
but
wait,
they were able to.
To be specific, when you say that, do you mean all their possessions were seized and they were destitute and poor and had no choice but to leave the country? Because if that's
No,
the
it's
case,
businesses.
well, depending on how much of the business you seize, you can end up reappropriating the entire economic foundation of an ethnic group, which is what we've done to black people plenty of times in this country, so I know it works well at discouraging people from continuing to live in that area. This is fundamentally, like, I just, the idea of using state power to
Like,
retaliate against a
what
race.
did you want Kenyans? What did you want Kenyans to do? Because like they didn't commit like mass genocide. They like.
If you take everybody's shit where they have to move because they don't have anywhere to go, can somebody explain to her that if you just take everybody's shit where they don't have anywhere to go, that's not a good look? I mean, that's a really bad look. Like, you don't want to do that and actually say that, hey, fuck you, we getting all of your shit. Like, you don't want to... Goddamn. Context? Who the fuck needs context? Fuck you and your context. Who the fuck needs context? Fuck you and your context. The fuck? Things should make sense. Things should be just, not just revenge. That's what it means. Just revenge. The fuck? Context. Whoa. Next you're going to be going in motivation. Like, the fuck? Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh. Hold on. All right, let's go.
Kicks people out by like being like, hey, the stuff that you took from us, we're gonna take back. And now they don't have any power. A lot of people got out. Like, that's kind of ideal to me. It's like, what do you want colonized people to do? Like, be like,
you just oh my God, you just explain what revenge is. You just explain revenge. You just explain revenge. That's all you just explained. You just explained revenge. You took some shit from us. Now we're gonna take it back from you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You just explained revenge. Does she get that? Does she get that? All right, let's go.
hey, you know what? You guys fucked us over. We're just gonna let you have the power that you still have. Like, what would you do?
So I don't know that much about the specifics of Kenya in this case. Without knowing more, I wouldn't be able to give like a really strong prescriptive solution here. But what you're talking about, if I'm reading you correctly, this might not actually be the case, but it seems like the way of discouraging white people from living there was economic retaliation, seizing properties owned by a given racial group so that they would have to like leave the country. And I don't necessarily know if
that
that's...
they already took. That they already took.
But who's they?
From that group.
Every individual or
The people-
that
the
race?
Britain colonized Kenya.
Britain's a country, but possessions were taken from people. You see the difference, right? You're doing the thing again. You're essentializing racial groups as a single homogenous block of people from which all harm done and all harm...
It seems that her mindset is that if they're colonizers, then it doesn't matter how bad stuff you do to them. Also, being white makes people colonizers. Yes, exactly. That's the whole case of this debate. Yes.
Done to are equivocal. Racial groups are made up of millions and millions of people. Some of the people there were probably fine anti-racists. Many of them probably weren't. You can't know. These broader attacks, saying you're taking it back from the people who took it to you, that's really weird to me, right? Like, at the end of the Civil
Okay, so
War...
why is it weird that literally this place was colonized, and then the people who were the colonized people, like, we're gonna take our power back, so they took their power back. Like, that's where that ends there. It's not just like this arbitrary, like...
It's weird because the people who colonized this area are long since dead. If you just want to say, hey, you know what? We don't like white people, so we're just going to we're just going to, you know, take this shit back from them. Say that shit. Hey, you know what? Cool, more power to you. If that's how you want to be, more power to you. But don't hide behind this, oh, we're doing justice. No, you're not doing justice. You're doing retribution. And that's fine. Just admit that you're doing retribution. It just doesn't, it just tastes so nasty in your mouth to say that we're doing retribution. That's why you don't want to say it. But don't get me wrong, you're doing retribution.
The economic
power. I don't know what
power.
that means by take your power back. Do we mean specifically target one racial group to reappropriate their resources at the exclusion of others? If that's the case, that seemed kind of bad, right? Because you're targeting a racial group for economic reappropriation. After the Civil War ended...
One example that I know of, I'm not an expert on Kenya or anything, but one thing that I know
then
of...
why the fuck did you bring it up? If you're not an expert on it, why the fuck did you bring it up? Why the fuck did you bring it up? If you're not an expert on it, why the hell did you bring it up? You just want to bring it up as a token point to say, like, look, they did it and they got rid of the white people without killing them. Wink, wink. Did they, like, just say fuck everybody and just take all the money? Yeah, but they didn't kill everybody. But you kind of, like, took it from people where it was like a government that did it. I said they, like, yeah, no, this is the bullshit. This is the bullshit. I'm sorry, like, I get if you are... look, check it out. I do not doubt that there are people that may have been part of the ruling class that did some fucked up shit. Did some really fucked up shit. But when you essentialize it too, hey, you know what? Your melanin content in your skin, you know, you kind of like... I want to kind of make it where... you get punished. No, dude, that's some bullshit. That is some bullshit. That is some high class bullshit. But let's continue.
For example, and then in the most the most fertile lands, it was owned by British colonialism. And then when Kenyans ended that, they took back that land. This is a specific example.
Sure.
So it's like I don't see why that's like. I don't see why people taking their land back is just like, we can't even talk about that. And that's kind of my issue, is that there's like all these colonized people dealing with colonialism and it's messy. There's a lot to critique about it. There's a lot of good things in there, but we need to be able to talk about it without literally trying to compare these people to white nationalists.
So every time
that's
you
really
say
all my point.
Their land or taking it back from the colonizers, I wince, because what you're doing is you're taking harm done to a racial group and assigning it moral validity by addressing them as though they had individually committed the crimes you're associating them with, you know? And I take grievous issue with that.
The point is that their land is colonized and they need to get rid of the colonizers.
Okay, but
at that point, it doesn't matter. Like,
it does matter.
It doesn't matter if like they're like the original people who did it. The point is that it's still being colonized. The people who are colonized are still dealing.
She doesn't fucking get it. 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 At what point don't you fucking get that it is not the same people that fucking took over the land? They're not the same people. And for you to sit back, Miss Leftist here, and say that all the colonizers equal white people, and so it's nothing wrong with going against white people, you are fucking making every leftist. Every time Tucker Carlson says that it's a white replacement, that, or if you give people power, they're gonna do this shit, you are giving them fucking ammo. Wait, Crimson. I gotta testify on behalf of Bogensville. Actually, a new country, I think near Zealand. I know the country kind of. What do you mean by that? Just explain. But yeah, let's get back to it. I'll wait till you come back with the message.
With colonialism, and those people need to get the colonists out. So
Do you
it's
think
like
the Native Americans
I'm
should
sure
be
they're
able,
nice people.
Do you think the Native Americans should be able to seize the entirety of the United States of America because this was originally their land?
I honestly think that we should just give the land back to indigenous people, and I bet you
What
they're
is
not
the
going to kick
land?
us all out. What is the land?
What, you mean
Land's made.
I'm astounded by the level of stupidity that she just said. I'm astounded at that level of stupidity that she just said. And this kind of like goes back to where I was gonna say even before, because her thing isn't that she feels that is it she's just she, again, never attributed to malice, or could be easily attributed to stupidity. I making this real hard. PF is making this real fucking hard. To just not just be like, how fucking stupid are you? God damn it. Oh my god, this is all types of stupid. This is just all types of stupid. This is just all fucking types of stupid. Oh god, wow. Oh wow. Okay.
Entirety of the United States of America, the largest and most powerful country on earth. You want to get the whole thing. You want to, do we still keep our democracy? Do the 330 million people in this country just suddenly now live under however reservations are governed? How do they organize that? Who gets which pieces of land?
I don't think I'm the person to ask. I think you should ask indigenous people.
I think if I asked them, I think they would kind of laugh at the question, because I don't think this is on the table or anyone would take it seriously.
I think indigenous people would think it's, I mean, I don't know, I don't want to speak for them, but I don't think
wow, she's dumb. Fuck. How? Okay. Let's go.
I think they would laugh at getting their land back.
Well, land back is
Like,
defensible, some parts of land, but the entirety of America? I don't think there are enough indigenous people left in America to even fill the space. I mean, you know, because most of them died.
How do you even determine who's indigenous enough to make that decision? She says she doesn't want to speak for indigenous people, but she absolutely wants to use them as oh god, yes. She is using this for an excuse to say like, hey, you know what? We wanna make sure we use you as a motherfucking a test case for we really want black people out of Africa. That's what she really wants to do. That's all this debate has been about. But yeah, no, fuck. Exactly. Like, at what point, like, if you're 1/4, do you get to decide of if you let white people stay in the country or not, or black people stay in the country or not? I know, like, the black Hebrew Israelites believe that they're the real native people and shit like that. Oh god, this doesn't get into that one. Like, what the fuck? This is fucking stupid. And the leftists that actually listen to this bullshit, who actually listen to think that she wasn't just spouting off just bullshit, I need you to actually listen to these parts right here. I don't want to speak for them, but I will show enough to speak for them. Oh, God. Let's go.
Maybe not.
You just like take everything.
I kind of think that's up to indigenous people, though. I don't want
Why?
to like misspeak, so I'm not gonna, because they were colonized.
Do you think being the victim
because like
of
we're
oppression
living on
means you can-
colonized land, because indigenous people are still trying to get much of their land back, and I think a lot of indigenous people don't necessarily want all of their land back either. And again, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's up to these people to determine, because it's actually theirs. And I think a lot of indigenous people don't want to do what white
How
people
is
do
it
to them. I think a lot
theirs?
of them were like, we just want this certain amount of land back because we've been put on reservations.
Out of curiosity, do you support Israel? Because that territory was originally theirs.
Israel's a lot more complicated than that territory originally being there. Like there's
Is
like
it more complicated, or you?
This is why I want to do this debate. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. I gotta put some of my dinner on. Hold on. All right, I'm back. I'm coming back, guys. Sorry, I had to prepare a little bit of my dinner, eating spinach with oven roasted turkey tail. All right, let's go.
Just on the different end of that particular political question.
There's like it was like a multi-ethnic place of like different people groups living
And
there.
so, wait, and to be fair, so were the Americas. It's not like one tribe ruled America. The tribes that...
When it's for a group that they feel that shouldn't have the power, oh, it's cool. It's cool to be like, oh, but what about ism? Yeah, this is the problem. This is the fucking problem. Oh, God. Oh. It's like that one time she said that white people shouldn't participate in Juneteenth, that it's just gatekeeping. Oh, wow. She did not say that bullshit. She did not say that bullshit. What the fuck? Damn it. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Damn it. She did not say that bullshit. White people can't enjoy Juneteenth. Okay. Okay.
that ruled the Americas before we came
No,
here
there's a bunch of
conquered
different
other
tribes. Yeah, there's
tribes
a bunch of different
beforehand.
people.
So does America belong to the tribe that owned it last, or the first tribes that we can ever anthropologically determine control the territory? These tribes were at war with each other.
Well,
sometimes.
I think
How
like
do we know who
determining like
goes
how to
where?
give land back would be talking to the people who are still around, because a lot of people were wiped out. Having having conversations of like, hey, this was your land. We want to give it back to you. What does that look like? I don't think it's just something
And
where
why
you
are
like
we
snap
making
your
them all
fingers
one
and it's
block,
like
right?
genocide.
Like there wasn't one indigenous people.
I'm
there
not.
were...
I'm talking about each. I literally said you would talk to the different groups of people who had land because every people had different territories.
Who does...
I think it would look something.
I am not somebody that says you should just forget about the past wrongs and just be like, fuck it, everything, you know, it's bad and all that other good bullshit. Oh, that's fucking stupid. I'm not one who to say that, you know, the reason why you shouldn't do it is because it's just hard work. But to the point where it gets pointless. It's pointless to start to try to micromanage so much shit. It's fucking pointless. And Professor Flowers is literally trying to make it where, like, this shit just makes no fucking sense. Like, the shit that she's advocating for makes no fucking sense. Alright, let's go. I don't know what the Carson House is. I would have to look into it. Definitely have to look into Carson House. Like I said, the next big game that I'm gonna do when it's just a gaming stream is probably gonna be Max Payne, and I'll start that next week probably. I'll probably start Max Payne next week.
Something like that, and I'm not really sure what it'd look like after that, because again, I think the instances of colonization are very different. I don't know about Germany.
This to me, the idea that land is forever yours.
How do we figure out how colonized people can have their lands back? I'm like, I think that looks like a very different conversation for each group of people who's been colonized, and I think all of them will have very different answers. And my point is that they need to be listened to.
Yeah.
When I was a kid in the kindergarten, my first friend was a white girl and an Asian boy. I didn't even want an ethno state. I don't want an ethno state. I want a multinational state where it's normal. Yeah, me too. Like, fuck. Like, okay. My whole mindset isn't sex. I'm gonna lay that down. 85%. That's not the whole mindset. But I like white titties. I like black titties. I like Mexican titties. I like Asian titties. As long as they big and round, I like titties. Fuck. I say this because the interactions that I have, that I want to have with people, or that the friendships that I want to have with people, doesn't matter what ethnicity they've come from. It doesn't matter what, color of their skins. It just matters on them. That's what matters. Why the fuck would you want to live separate from your oppressors? Like, I would love to live separate from my oppressors if somebody's oppressing me, but just to say that I want to live different from white people, live separate from white people because white, that's fucking stupid. I'm sorry, there is so much shit that I can learn. I don't. Okay, all right. To a sizable part of the online left, Professor Flowers wins the debate by default because she's a black woman arguing with a white man, regardless of the arguments. Of course, because a lot of people on the online left love to fit that stereotype. If they're not part of the fucking in group, then they're left. That's the thing. Like, the fuck that this is what limits the left from actually growing in. I'm sorry, this is the reason why there are so many liberals. The fact is, there are so many people that have leftist views, or a mix of leftist and centrist views, that we can win on our motherfucking side, but because they're not oh, you need to follow this particular guidelines, then the fuck, you're ostracized. This is the bullshit. This is the fucking bullshit. And this is why I feel like a lot of these motherfuckers on the online left need to go out in the motherfucking real world and put down the motherfucking Twitter. We're going to detonate Twitter. Or a lot of these motherfucking platforms and actually have to deal with living and working and fucking just dealing with people outside of their comfort zone. And yes, they're going to run into some people that are fucking racist. They're going to run into some people that are just ignorant, not bigoted, but ignorant. And then you're going to run into some people that are just outright spiteful. But that's what's going to have to happen to him. I want Twitter to stay around a lot longer than what it is, because I want these people to motherfucking, I want to get rid of the block button in cases of where you have to file a harassment claim. I want to do that. I want to do that. If somebody's calling you racial slurs, I don't want a block button. I just want them to be blocked from the site. But you just don't like what somebody's saying? Fuck, learn how to deal with it. Fucking learn how to deal with it. Either come up with a better argument, which people on the left needs to do, ignore it, and just like, you don't have to respond to the shit. I mean, like, you don't have to respond to the shit, or respond to the shit in a way that makes you, that deals with what they're saying and explains why they're bad. That's what I want. But, that's not going to happen. But let's continue.
To be clear.
Does that make sense?
No, I think it's almost incoherent. So you would make the argument that
it's almost incoherent that I'm making the argument that colonized people should be able to determine what to do with colonization. So, you can't understand it.
And see, here we go. There we go. It's the, how dare you disagree with me? Just as it was just said. How dare you disagree with a black woman about a racial issue? She's saying some morally objectable shit. But let's continue.
That's an incoherent.
Yeah, because we have superseding laws and ethical structures that determine the extent to which anyone can do anything. We even have international law these days. So you have explicitly argued for ethnostates over the course of this discussion. I don't think an oppressed or colonized group has the right to build an ethnostate. I don't think that Saudi Arabia has a right to treat women the way they do just because they're an autonomous nation. I don't think Israel has a right to reclaim its territory just because 4,000 years ago they controlled that land. And I don't think the entirety of the United States of America should be ceded to the shattered, fragmented remains of what was once thousands of tribes that crossed the entire dual continents.
Exactly.
I think subjects on like the discussion of ethics on this is way more complicated. And when you reduce it down to the colonized get to decide.
Oh my God, that's what I'm saying.
No, but your answer is the colonized get to decide. And I'm saying that is too simplistic. And not only is that more simplistic, that also implicitly defends a lot of really bad behavior potentially. Which is why in your video you said that the oppressed have a right to determine whether they would continue to live with their oppressors. And we know when you said that you didn't just mean buying out properties that were colonized so that the people left of their own volition. We know it doesn't end with that. When state power is turned towards ethnically exclusionary behavior.
There's so many different endings, though. Like, if you look at colonized countries in Africa, there's so many different endings. And at the end of the day, I'm glad that those people are being decolonized.
But can't we decolonize without discriminating against another racial or ethnic group?
It's not discrimination if you're literally...
She didn't answer the question. Again, this is not answering the question. This is not answering the question. Oh my God, this is not answering the question. This isn't answering the question. And that's the fucked up part about it. She doesn't want to answer that question. Because she knows what it turns out to be. When a government has the power to limit or kick out other people, it never just ends with, oh, you can go, and if you can't go, you're gonna just follow some rules here. No, they want them gone, and they start doing shit like, I don't know, bombing hospitals and schools. Now, is this to say that, I don't know, maybe a fucking group shouldn't antagonize the government to say, like, well, we're going to show how bad they really are, and we're going to treat our civilians as fucking cannon fodder to be sacrificed to get us more sympathy? No civilians should be pawns in a group of people trying to fucking hold power. I'm sorry, and it's telling. I was watching the Bull of the Fifth Column video the other day. He was asking how many people asked him to say Palestinian civilians shouldn't be targeted and how many people shouldn't act Israeli citizens should be targeted. 40, he's like 54 to 46. How many people was asking to condemn civilian deaths on both sides? 2. And that's the shit that pisses me off. You think that your side is so fucking morally righteous that you think the other side deserves the fuck they get. This is where this bullshit actually comes from. When you literally are saying and literally are acting as if just because somebody is born a specific way, they deserve everything they fucking get. How fucking dare you to call yourself a fucking leftist? How fucking dare you sit back and say that, oh, I care about people and being harmed and being oppressed. When you know good goddamn well the shoes are turned and you had the power that you claim these other people have, you would do the goddamn same goddamn thing. It's bullshit. You're using your leftism as a motherfucking aesthetic to say that I don't like these people. How fucking dare you try to get part of my movement just because you mad about some shit? It's horrifying to me. It's horrifying to me. And how many people think that Professor Flowers had the right idea in this shit? Do you truly believe in standing up for oppressed people? Or do you feel like, well, these people in the head they turn, and so I should stand up for the people that are on the losing side right now? You reek of people that have never, ever dealt with having to deal with seeing people hurt or traumatized, and had the ounce of human sympathy of saying, like, we don't want to fucking hurt anybody. You reek of that shit. And as soon as Vosh brings up, oh, do you feel that Israel should actually do that? She damn nearly choke on her fucking tongue, because the fact is, oh no, the Israeli government, they're friends with the U.S., so fuck them because U.S. bad. Your hypocrisy is deafening.
Really just trying to take your power back. Discrimination would be
absolutely
oppressing
can
people.
be. Wait, by taking your power back, you mean selectively stripping power from another ethnic group.
The
That's
people who colonized you.
Yeah.
The ethnic group that colonized you. That context is a little important, right?
No, it functionally isn't. You keep essentially implying that it's okay to engage in retribution. If you've been colonized, you have the right.
It's not retribution. It's literally trying to have your own self-determination.
One man's rebel is another man's freedom fighter. Seriously. One man's rebel is one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. And this isn't that some both sides bullshit. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. If you sit back and say, fuck, it's okay for me to get my hands bloody in the fucking fight and struggle that I want to do, it's okay. You better be prepared to bloody somebody's hands with your own motherfucking thing. This is why, and I know I was watching the video recently about it, and this shows you how fucking anime brained I am. The trembling versus the zero requiem plan. Which one was the better plan? and I know I didn't watch much on Attack on Titan, but I read the synopsis. Hey, I'm gonna do whatever I need to motherfucking make sure my side's on good footing, or I'm gonna have some sacrifices, but I'm also gonna make sure in the end I draw the hatred to me, so all the different sides don't hate each other. Which one is better? If you're sitting back and thinking that, oh fuck, we're just gonna keep that cycle of violence going, baby, that just gonna make sure my side wins this round, you're no better than the other side. The cycle of hatred and violence, Professor Flowers is going for hatred and violence. Keep that cycle going. Keep it grinding on, no matter how many people it crushes. But for some reason, she's right because leftists.
That's what it is.
That's
That's
what
the
white
context of what I'm
nationalists
talking about.
asked for, right there. Self-determination is the dog whistle that they use when talking about ethno-states. This is what I mean
They're talking
about
about
it.
self-determination in the context of other people being inferior inherently. They're about self-determination in the context of wanting to have their own state because they're looking down on other people.
Haven't you listened to Richard
people
Spencer?
Who are oppressed, talking. I've heard of plenty of
Richard Spencer doesn't
people
think
who
the
are
other
oppressed
races are inferior.
Need to
He
have
just
their own
thinks that
self-determination. And the reason why they're oppressed is because they don't have their own self-determination. And the reason why I'm using that term is because it looks so different in every country. And I think people need to have this.
The thing about it is, then this is what a lot of these people don't fucking get. Again, and I said it earlier in this video. A lot of these white separatists, they feel if they put on an even playing ground, even field with black folks or brown folks, that somehow they have more like genetic superpowers, that whiteness will be bred out, that some kind of way that these black and brown people are going to be, are going to just steamroll the whiteness out of the universe. They truly believe that shit. They believe that some kind of way, if everything is kept on the path that it is now, not only the 13% of black people are going to overtake white people, this is going to be a massacre in 2 years. It's not from a place of they feel that they're strong. They come from a place where they feel that they're weak and strong. It's almost as if that's some Umberto Eco shit, that they're both weak and strong at the same time. Fuck. Let's go.
To talk about that and to figure it out without being called a white nationalist.
So again, I don't have a problem with talking about it. It's just a lot of your language comes off. Wait, can we please
doing it right now?
Wait,
You're like, you're a white nationalist.
I'm literally talking about it right now.
Richard
But
Spencer said this and
hold
that.
on,
It's like,
please.
I know.
So when you're saying we have a right to discriminate against this racial group to preserve the self-determination of our people, yeah, that does sound a little white nationalisty. So you'll have to forgive me for
It's
drawing
not
that.
to preserve.
Please,
It's not just to preserve self-determination. Okay, sorry. Go on. Go ahead. Go on.
I do not think that the road to decolonization and the road to ethnic discrimination are necessarily the same roads. I think you can decolonize a place without using it to justify racially exclusionary behavior, which is, by the way, by definition, what black separatism is. If it wasn't black separatism, if it wasn't racially exclusionary, then you could just say, we want to build a democracy and make sure power is equally distributed among the people. But that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about discouraging, and that's a very generous term, by the way, one racial group from continuing to live in your society. And it never just ends, by the way, at, we bought out their territory and they just leave. When a colonizing
Yes, it
group,
does.
When a
This literally happened
when a
in Kenya.
colonizing group lives in
She has repeatedly said she's not a motherfucking expert on Kenya. Okay.
They got the white people out and they're like, good. They got the people who colonized them out and they're like, great.
Do you think it's interesting
where it
that you
stopped.
referred to them as white people before you referred to them as colonizers? It speaks to your priorities somewhat.
No. Because white people have what? Who are the colonizers in this world? Yeah, there are other people who have done it, but look
Are
at all
all
the
the white
places that have
people-
colonized.
are
Africa,
all the white people
India,
colonizers?
America.
Are all the white
No,
people
they're-
colonizers in Kenya?
White people are part of colonialism.
Wait.
The colonizers are
You're
white
doing
people.
it again. Wait, hold on. So are all the white people in South Africa colonizers?
Gosh, I am so sorry that I misspoke. I meant the white colonizers. I didn't mean to say all white people. My bad.
But it tells who the fuck you are. It fucking tells who you are. Look, fuck Freud, but that was a fucking Freudian slip right there. If you are a leftist and you don't hear this shit and you be like, yeah, she sound like kind of a racist, I don't know what to tell you. I don't fucking know what to tell you. If you are a leftist and you don't hear this shit and say she sounds like a racist, I don't know what to tell you. If you've heard racist ass motherfuckers talk about how they wanted, like they want to be separate and all this other good bullshit, and I think we've done a disservice. We've done a very bad disservice, from only professing that Nazis were this big, huge, mechanized army, and they talked about how they were the masses race, where they were a lot of coked out, drugged up, fail sons that couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag when they didn't have the element of surprise on their side. The Nazis were fucking incompetent. And you think that they literally, the Nazis themselves, now the German army, don't get me wrong, there were racists in the German army, but they had built a mechanized machine. The Nazis, they were fucking incompetent. They were truly incompetent. They were drugged up and they literally were simultaneously Christian, and yes, Nazis were Christian, and they were occultists too. They were fucking incompetent. And the fact is, they didn't believe themselves Ubermensch or Superman or some bullshit like that. They also thought themselves victims. So miss me with that bullshit. Miss me with that bullshit about them thinking that they're, so superior. No, they were scared. Let's go.
Oops, I guess I'm a racist.
It is an interesting term of phrase. It'd be a pretty big difference it'd be a difference, for example, like how you
I think
refer
it's
to
interesting that you
criminality.
don't get why people refer to white people as colonizers when white people are the ones colonizing the world. I think that's interesting.
Generally
that you don't
speaking,
get
the people who no, I do get it. I just think it makes you insufferable and sociologically ignorant. Now I'll ask you again. When it comes to
Okay.
South Africa, what do you think of the 6 million white people who live in that country? Do you think the black people, who are by far the majority, have a right to remove the white population?
I
Answer the
personally
question.
don't think that would be a good idea, but I do think that
they have a right
it's
to?
up to. Yeah, I think so. I think they have the right to discuss what to do.
This is explicit. 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 So for people that say that, no, she didn't say that, she supports genocide. Yeah, she just did. Let's go for that ideologically consistency when it comes to, I don't know, if, another area not that far from there had an idea of, I don't know, getting rid of an ethnic group because they've had problems with them in the past. I don't get it. I don't fucking get it. Like, this shit makes no fucking sense to me. Like, why is this held up as... I mean, like, if you want to say that Vosh was bullying the shit out of her, yeah, of course. Because her points were stupid. But this is just, like, she is okay with ethnic cleansing. She's okay with ethnic cleansing. And I'm not okay with the left being okay with her being okay with ethnic cleansing. I don't know what else to say about this, but this is bad. This is fucking bad. I don't know. I don't. Okay. Wow, this is bad. And for a while, I must have misremembered watching this debate, but I thought she didn't answer the question, but she clearly did answer the question. But let's go.
About that, and if that means that they have to remove the people, then I think that they would have a right to do that. But I think that would be really harsh, and I think that they're not even going to do that.
Out of curiosity, do you know how many Jews died in the Holocaust?
I think 6 million.
Do you know what Hitler tried to do with them before the Holocaust began?
See, this is what I'm saying. Like, me being like people should have the right to self-determination.
Answer the question.
You are literally comparing me to Hitler and Nazis right now.
Answer the question. What did he try to do before he killed them?
Don't sit back. Like, she knows it's a trap because of what her ideology leads to. She knows it's a fucking trap. She knows what her ideology leads to, but she doesn't want to fucking admit it. It's bullshit, and you know what it fucking leads to. God damn, this is stupid. This is not leftism. This isn't leftism.
Not going to answer the question because you literally are proving my point.
He tried to remove
you literally
them.
can't. You did Jewish people colonize Germany?
You keep saying that. I don't think it's relevant. Jewish people in Germany.
The context of colonialism
Jewish
is
people,
really relevant.
Jewish
It's
people,
why we're talking about
Jewish
this.
people in
okay,
Germany.
I'm not saying that people should just remove any.
Because it's about revenge. The reason why it's relevant to this chick is because it's about revenge. That's all. That's all the reason why it's relevant. Because it's about fucking revenge. It's none other than it's about being revenge, and that's why it's relevant. No other reason. Because it's about revenge, and so she feels that she can be justified in anything that should be justified because it's about fucking revenge. It's about nothing but revenge.
Anyone.
Jewish people in Germany were innocent, regular people. And white people in South Africa are innocent, regular people. The seeds of colonization are a sociological phenomena that runs back hundreds of years. It's not like there are 6 million people who are born white and thus instantly become colonizers. You are doing exactly what I accuse people like you of doing. You're essentializing racial differences and turning them into grievances that state power can be used to solve.
But the issue is that there's still a power dynamic of white people running South Africa.
Okay, but
how
this
do
is
people
again,
who are colonized get their power back? Obviously, they should do genocide, but people should be able to have a conversation about what to do to have their own self-determination, to be able to live their lives without colonial oppression, live their lives without racism.
You're speed running all the talking points that I hear from white nationalists. If you want to address the power difference, you can do that without genocide. Removing all the white people is not the only way of fixing that problem. You know that, right? And by the way, I mean, you know what?
Saying, Vosh, oh my God, that is actually what I'm trying to say. That there's different.
No. That is not what you're trying to say. That is not what you're saying. You are literally just saying that, hey, the government should have the power to do what the fuck they want to. If they don't like the people, then, fuck them. That is not what you're trying to say. You are saying something completely different, and you know you're saying something completely different, and that's the problem. That is the fucking problem, and you know it's the problem. That's why you're acting the way that you are, because you're trying to hide behind the colonized people should be able to do what they want to. The colonizers, you know, it's completely different, and yet and still you doing this bullshit ass dance of I didn't say that. Did I really say that? No, I didn't say that. Yeah, but yeah, they should. Fuck, 3 hours of this bullshit. My brain is a fucking melt. Alright, let's go.
I'm not saying that people should just commit genocide. I'm saying there's so many different responses to colonization.
You
People
said they would have the right to
determine
remove
what
them.
to do.
You said they would have the right to remove them.
I think if they decided like, hey, we don't want the people who colonized us to stay here, let's figure out a way to like have them move or something like that. I think that'd be very harsh. Again, that's something that I would agree with. But I think the people who are colonized should have the self-determination to decide what to do about the people who have colonized them.
Okay, so out of curiosity,
I think you're also like,
do you think that Saudi Arabia has a right to throw gay people off rooftops? It's their culture. Do they not have a right to self-determine their moral system with regards to
see, like gay people are oppressed though.
Wait, hold on. No, they're not. Gay people in Saudi.
Yeah, she just said that. She just said that. So again, it's just about revenge. If you can't have any injustice anywhere, is injustice everywhere. If you can't have justice for the oppressed as well as the oppressor, if your rule just breaks down because of who's in power, you will never have justice. If your thing about leftism was because this group is oppressed, you will never have justice. Because what happens when the oppressed becomes the oppressor? But you know Professor Flowers will never subscribe to that because oppressed means not white. That's all the shit applies to her. Oppressed means to her not white. This is so fucking disgusting to me. This is so disgusting to me. Let's go.
Saudi Arabia are just a product of Western degeneracy that feeds in through global media. In reality, it's actually a product of white international cultural bias that is infesting the people in Saudi Arabia. So given they're basically a symptom of Western degeneracy, do you think they not have a right to address that in whatever way they think is most culturally effective?
I think that's not really what we're talking about.
Your arguments are used by every tyrannical group around the world.
What I'm talking about is a group of people who are colonized having the self-determination where they can have the same equal amount of power. They can have equality.
And this reminds me of that. This is where a lot of these people run up into a fucking issue with talking with Vosh. Remember the non-compete American Johnsons? Whole idea of when it's broken down that, hey, your justification is used by so many of these other groups to justify against, groups that you feel are oppressed. Instead of having a moral standard for one group and then having a moral standard for another group, people just say, hey, damn. It's just like they can't break down morals when it comes to like, hey, yo, why don't we set this one group versus oppressed or this one racial group? Why don't we have a group? Why don't we have a guideline based on, a principle what is right versus just what fits in the moment? This is that shit. This is the reason why so many of these people use leftism as a fucking, as just a motherfucking aesthetics, or just a social club for these motherfuckers, because they don't believe in this shit. They just are using it to be against the current power structure. That's why they're using it. That's why they're saying it, because they're using it to be against the current power structure. But let's continue.
Again.
Everyone calls themselves colonized. This is what you don't get. Every oppressor has called themselves
But not
oppressed.
not everyone is colonized, though.
It doesn't
you can
matter.
look at the historical
what you're
record
saying,
and determine who's colonized
what
or
you're
not.
saying,
like, people are going to say stuff, and then there's history. There's things that actually happened.
What you're saying is that any state that can justify its sense of persecution therefore has a right to engage in genocide against ethnic minorities within their borders. Every tyrannical regime does this. No tyrannical regime in history has ever said, yep, we're on top, we're the bad guys, we're just killing for fun. They always construct a narrative of persecution, and whether that narrative is correct or not really doesn't make much of a difference.
Do you think that Africans who are colonized are constructing, they're just like making up a narrative of oppression? Do you think indigenous people are making up a narrative of oppression? Do you think Hawaii?
She's not listening at all. She's not fucking listening at all. She's not fucking listening at all. The comment was that everybody that does foul shit to groups of people claims some sort of fucking victimhood. True or not? Can she not fucking deal with what was said versus, yeah, no, we know it's bullshit. We know it's bullshit, but that don't stop people from saying it. But let's go.
Are making up a narrative of
I literally
just
just
black
said,
people are making up a narrative of oppression.
I literally just said that it's irrelevant, and that while the degree to which it is true doesn't
Why
affect
is the
state
context of
justification.
oppression irrelevant? Why is the context of who has power irrelevant?
Because, and I'll say it once more, and this is why you should really check your racism, my friend, that white people and colonizers aren't the same group. The people who are white in South Africa are regular humans who are dead, who live their lives. They are not physical.
Colonization is still happening.
Like physical,
America.
They are, yes,
is
the
still
concept of colonization is happening. You do not then get to attack 6 million ethnic minorities in a country. That's what
fucking
you're
hate
doing.
this snake.
You're taking a sociological problem and making it a race problem, which is, by the way, what conservatives do to black people. You can take a look at the statistics.
I'm not
Hold on.
hold on.
Let me finish,
fine,
please.
Go on.
Conservatives do this all the time. Black on black crime is wildly disproportional in this country. I recognize this as a sociological phenomenon.
What does
but
black on black
conservatives-
crime have to do with
You
it?
just said you'd let me finish. Maybe you'd understand if you'd let me finish. But conservatives essentialize it, saying that it's a black problem. You're doing this with colonization, where colonization is a massive, globe-reaching sociological problem that is influenced
And I'm
by
saying that
and
colonization
influences
is a
people.
problem
That is influenced
because
by
they're still being colonized.
and influences people. That doesn't mean every individual who's in a country that was colonized by a person of their race makes them a colonizer. Those aren't the same things. You're essentializing to race and justifying state
they are still
crimes.
colonizers, Vaj. They're still colonizers.
Oh my god, this is the bullshit. Like, literally, she is This is racial guilt. This is racial guilt. That's what this is. This is racial guilt. This is because you're white, you're guilty of every crime that all white people have done forever and ever and since and forever. This is racial guilt. This is also stupid. This is also racist. Oh my god. And like, when you talk to these people, when you fucking talk to these people, it's like, no, it's fine. They believe that way, not because of reasons. This what makes me criticizing people for saying stupid shit like, y'all just want to get rid of all the white characters out of movies and games. This is the shit that makes it difficult. This is the shit that makes it just incredibly difficult. Because so many of these motherfuckers are so caught up in the I just want revenge type shit that they don't see this bullshit. Let's fucking continue.
South Africa is still colonized. America is still being colonized. There's still a colonization issue. For you to say they're not colonizers is to...
I'm sorry. How is America still being colonized? How is America still being colonized? How is America still being colonized? Oh, white people just live there. Oh, just white people live there. That's how they're still being colonized. How is America still being colonized? Please tell me. I'm just astounded why so many fucking leftists like thought that this was a win on her part. I just don't get this. America is still being colonized. I don't get that one. Maybe I missed something. America is still being colonized. I just didn't get that one. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she'll prove me wrong.
Is to act as if everything's fine. It's not.
Do you understand what sociological problems are? Do you think they're only the individual? Like, do you think that black crime is just a bunch of black people?
Individual. But do you really think that there's not a colonization issue? Do you really think that people do have their own autonomy
This is where I'm starting to wonder if you're educated enough to have this conversation. You keep talking about colonization, the socioeconomic phenomenon, and relating it to the actual lives of the millions of people in that country. Those aren't the same things. The sociological phenomenon of crime is not the same as the people in this country.
Of the people who colonize them.
That's not colonization. That's fucking capitalism. And it's, again, if you were to talk to a white person in the fucking hollers of fucking Kentucky, they wouldn't see themselves as a motherfucking goddamn they wouldn't see themselves as people who were in charge. They wouldn't see themselves as people as leading the motherfucking different colors to different things, and just like, no, they're not colonizers. They're not just ruling the world. They feel as if they're being forgotten about. And that's the fucked up part about it. A lot of these people have this whole idea that these white people are just ruling the fucking world. Let's just go.
That's the issue. The power is still in the hands of the people who colonize that
And a lot of crime is done by black people in the U.S. And a lot of crime is done by black people in the U.S. A massively disproportional amount. So, like, crime
that black people have done in the U.S. is nothing compared to the slavery and colonization that's happened.
Yeah.
Has nothing to
that's comparable. The fact that you think that's comparable says a lot about you.
You can't respond to the direct point. You just whataboutism to the next thing. You don't understand the relationship.
You whataboutism about black people on crime.
Do you understand what the relationship was?
Explain the relationship, because I'm really curious to think how this is on topic.
You really didn't understand. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. If you can explain how those things connect, then maybe we can continue talking.
The problem I have is that white people colonized South Africa a really long time ago. White people that live today in South Africa are just people. They're not like soldiers in the imperialist army. They're just people. Colonization is a construct.
They're just people who are still colonizing South Africa.
So you're doing it again. So
white people live in an era that means colonization. That's all she's just saying. Wow.
So what you're saying when you like make this point is that you don't think white people have a place in South Africa, which is again one of the reasons why I also think you're basically.
I don't think they have a place in South Africa as a colonizer.
Can you ever let me finish a point? So when you're saying a white person in South Africa means they're a colonizer, you're essentially saying white people have no place in South Africa, that there's no ethical way for a white person to be in South Africa, and that's blood and soil
Not
talk,
what I'm
girl.
saying.
That's blood and soil
That's
talk.
really not what I'm saying. You know, all this talk about like,
What are you saying? You didn't say those words, but that's what you're insinuating.
oh, you don't understand me. Like you're responding to a straw man because that's not what I'm saying.
The reason I brought up black crime in the United States is because you're demonstrating an inability to differentiate sociological phenomena from the behavior of people who contribute to it. There is a lot of black on black crime in the US, but I don't consider that to be a black problem inherent to black people who will do it as long as there are black people in our cities. I think it's a sociological phenomena that interweaves our communities, that affects and is affected by people of all races, much like colonization. The people who are in South Africa today who are white did not lead the boats of the, what was it, the Dutch, all the way down to the Cape and then
and they're
themselves
still
conquer.
profiting off of colonization.
And there are black people
They may
in
not be the
American
people who are
cities
on
that
the
profit
boats.
from gang violence.
They're still profiting off of colonizing millions of people.
You still don't understand.
And
There
that's
are black people
structure
in
that is
America.
still existing.
You don't understand. Still, there are black people in America that profit off of gang violence. The drugs that get funneled into the country that they sell, there are plenty of black people who make a living off that. Does that make it a black problem? No, you're making the essentialist argument. Like, I actually do think you're making like a racially essentialist argument. Like, you're fundamentally tainted by the same type of ideological worldview that like 18th century
really
scientists
like,
would have used.
People who are South Africans are there for the most part, who are white South Africans are there for the most part directly because of colonialism.
What is
Being there because of colonialism and being a colonizer are, again, two different things. I don't think she really understands the difference between them. Oh, wow. Fuck. I genuinely think she doesn't understand the difference between the two of them. That's horrifying. That she doesn't understand the difference between living in the country because that's where you were born in, and wow, and actually going and conquering that country. That says something. Let's go.
Is that so 300 years ago their dad showed up and they were born 18 generations later and that means they're a colonizer?
And they're still profiting off of colonialism. They're still creating racist structures. Like apartheid ended like a year after I was born.
There are black people.
And you think that like racism mysteriously just like ended and all the colonialist structures just ended? That's what they're still dealing with. And that's why I'm saying that South Africa have to still figure out what to do about colonization.
I never said racism just ended. You don't seem to be following what I'm talking about. There are black people in South Africa who also profit off of the colonization that took place. It's not like the system that was built exclusively was built to the benefit of white people. There were superstructures formed where the black majority population would find ways to leech wealth from that system too. Colonization is complicated.
But they were like leeching off profits of colonization off of a system that for the most part disproportionately affects black people. And that's
And this is where her fucking this is the end result of good guys and bad guys. This is the end result of good guys and bad guys. There are good guys and there's bad guys. There are good guys and there's bad guys. This is where it leads you to. When you think it's just good guys and bad guys, this is where you get. This is what you get. This is exactly what you get when it's good guys and bad guys. There's no in between. This is exactly what you get. But let's go.
System is still running today. The colonization didn't stop. And I don't think you get that, actually.
And now there are white people.
I don't think you understand that just because colonization happened a few hundred years ago means that it's over. Means that
I
white
didn't
people still
say
are
it was
participating in
over.
it. Because white people are still participating in it. And what I'm saying is that people need to have their own self-determination to figure out how to end it and have their own autonomy.
Can I ask you a direct question? Have I at any point during this conversation said colonization and racism are over in South Africa? Have I said that at any point during this conversation?
You did try to actually say that it happened, that colonization happened a bit ago, and that I can't somehow break apart the fact that the colonization happened and that white people aren't literally colonizers.
I encourage you
because
to
what I'm
review
saying is
this
that they're
VOD.
still profiting off of
I
colonization.
encourage you to review this VOD. I have never said anything of the sort. The point that I'm making is that the moral culpability of the act of colonization is not one which is currently being borne by the majority of white South Africans. I'll ask you another direct question. Do you think
But the thing is,
it's
those
possible
people are
for-
not trying to dismantle the powers of
do you think
colonization.
those 6 million people, you know that?
This is so fucking stupid. Because the goalposts just moved. If you didn't catch it, she just moved the goalposts to literally say, well, they weren't colonizers, so because they're not working to dismantle the colonization, and we know we've seen the dismantling colonization that she really wants to have. Like no, like we watched the Channel 5 Oruro video where it's just performative. Hey, let me look like I'm doing something to actually help type motherfucking dismantling of power systems. It's never truly want to dismantle power systems. It's like, until it's uncomfortable for me. Let's go.
That? Have you talked to them, or are you making a group generalization about a race again? I'll ask you
I'm
another...
sorry. Most of the people are not trying to dismantle the powers of colonization.
Again.
I'll ask you another question. Do you think it's possible for a white person to live ethically in South Africa?
Yeah, I already actually said that.
How would they do so?
I think they can live there ethically by, this is my thoughts on it. I'm not South African, so I don't want to speak for South African people.
And yet
but I
she
think
does.
that if they lived there, tried to also fight against the racist structures that are still in place, try to fight against colonialism, try to give back to Black communities, I think that would be an ethical way to live there.
Okay, so...
Oh my God, she's really doing it. She's really doing it. I was joking about the rural shit, but like she would want the performative, like, all right. And I've said it before, and you guys would know this on this channel. I said it before. That bullshit about, oh, we're washing Black people's feet after George Floyd protests. She would be one of those people that would want white people to wash their feet. She will be one of those people. You want to motherfucking deal with racism by the police and make sure Black folks ain't killed because, reasons? Let's deal with the fucking power structure. Let's vote to bring more motherfucking social programs out. Fuck wash my feet. Fuck that. Fuck that. But she would be one of those people like, of course. Well, we're colonized people, and we should decide whether somebody be able to wash our feet or not. Fuck this. Fuck this bullshit. Wow, this shit is so stupid.
If they did that, and then the state tried to deport them anyway. You've called them a colonizer, by the way. You've said that the white people in South Africa are a colonizer. You don't know how many of them are already doing that. You have no goddamn idea. But you painted the whole racial group as existing current colonizers anyway, which implicitly suggests they're not capable of living there ethically. Do you think it's odd that you're willing to, by default,
About
condemn
them
an
being
entire
able to
race?
live there ethically. It's about who has the power. And right now, the people who have colonized that place have the power. And so how do you dismantle that power?
Do you think you could
That's
do
what
it
it's
without
about.
deporting a race? Do you think that's possible?
I think you could, and that's what I've been saying
then
this whole time.
Then it's unethical to then do a genocide. If you have the ability to fix the power differential without genocide, but then you do genocide anyway, that's pretty bad, right?
I would say so, yeah. But I also think like a lot of people aren't doing that. I think a lot of people who are figuring out how to get rid of colonialism, it's pretty complicated. Like there's like the Mau Maus in Kenya, for example. They had to like kill a lot of people, but they also were part of ending British colonialism. Like what I'm saying is that colonialism is very messy, and there's instances where it's ideal if people can end it peacefully. There's instances where it hasn't been peaceful, and I think it's like, who are you to judge? Because you're not the person.
I'm a fucking human. I am a human. I can judge whether it's not it's good to fucking kill people just because your feelings was hurt. I'm sorry. When does it become justification to kill a lot of people? When it's one person's feelings are hurt? 10, 20, 30, a million? You tell me what's the moral scales that you can actually start weighing when it's justified for killing a shit ton of people or displacing them, send them into a place where they may have a harder time in life. You tell me, at what point is it enough people to justify, to be able to say, hey, these many people, they need to not be here anymore? When you can tell me that, then I will start listening to your fucking argument. Let's go.
Who's been colonized.
That's
what I'm
I'll
getting
judge.
at.
Yeah, I'll judge. I judge the
Oh, I
Israelis
know
for
you
how they
will.
treat the Palestinians. Yeah, I do actually think that members of oppressed groups can do morally wrong things. I do believe that.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
that
is that there are
actually
people,
is.
there are all these different countries who have dealt with colonialism in a multitude of different ways. And sometimes it's been violent, and luckily sometimes it hasn't been. And my point is that people need to determine that. We need to look at each situation and the situation that people are in. Because
Okay.
again, we're talking about various different countries.
So what
we're
if
not
it
just
turned
talking
out-
about like a monolith of people.
What if people thought within a country that the only way for them to escape colonialism, read racial diversity in their country, was through the wholesale slaughter of the white people who lived there? Do you think that would be justified? Like, if they were like, this is how we're determining our decolonization, would you have a problem with that?
I think that would be pretty messed up, actually. Again, like, I'm not a separatist, but I think people should decide what they need to do.
Why
And I
do
also think realistically that just would never happen because
Why-
it's just really impractical on multiple levels.
So
like
you
trying
think
to
it's
kill every
bad, but
single
you think they have a
person.
right to do it?
I think that it depends what the situation is. Like, if that's the only way to get colonizers out, then okay. But again, when you look at people who've been colonized, that's just not what they do.
So
They try
just
to take
okay?
the power. They try to take the power away by taking their businesses back, for example.
Okay, I know how it's normally done because I don't think most of them are as psychotic as the limits of your moral philosophy would allow. But you're saying essentially that you would be okay with them. Like, that's just an okay to you? Like, oh, we killed
It's really
millions of
not.
people because of their race. And I don't necessarily like that, but I think they had a right to do that. Is that what we're going with? What else do you allow in the name of anti-colonialism? What about what Assad does in Syria? Or what about what China does to the Uyghur Muslims? How far do these limits go? What about the...
Okay, well, say then I don't think it's right to just slaughter a bunch of people. That does seem really fucked up, but I think that people should be able to figure out how to get rid of their colonizers. And there's been times where people, it's turned into a civil war.
What about getting rid of colonization? Wouldn't it be better to talk about the idea rather than talking about first essentializing an entire racial group as agents of a sociological force and then treating them as the enemy that need to be excised? Wouldn't it be better to treat it like what it actually is, a political force?
I don't really understand the difference that you're making.
Yeah, exactly. That's
telling.
the problem.
Okay, I'll put it another way. Okay?
That's the problem.
You know how after the Weimar Republic fell, there was a narrative in Germany that Jews were responsible for the loss of World War I because they had financed foreign banks in the efforts against the fatherland?
Sorry, say that again.
You know how after World War I, there was a rumor in the Weimar Republic, a commonly held narrative, that Jews were responsible in part for Germany's loss because they had financed foreign banks and economically depreciated the country?
I didn't know that.
Well, don't you think it might have been a little bit better if they had said, hey, we should do something about banking and its effect on our country, and not, hey, we should do something about the ethnic group of people we associate with the banking? Like, the former situation seems like, even in the worst case scenario, it leads to much less harm, you know? Like, it's a less destructive road to go down, even if it's fundamentally a delusional belief. Like, isn't that a better road?
I just don't really see why you can't talk about colonization in the context of people who are colonizing them. I don't really see why that would be a better road to go down. Like,
should we talk about crime
I
in
don't
relation to the
understand
races
why.
that do it here in the United States?
Right, but then you look at the context of like the history that like Black people are put in, the kind of environments that like poor Black people have to deal with, and so like when you're talking
So
about like the
now
crime that
we're
Black
talking
people
about
commit,
socioeconomic forces. See, this is what I mean. When it comes to stuff that Black people do, you're willing to say, well, look past the people and look at the sociological force.
And this is why Professor Flowers is labeled as a racist. This is exactly why. This is exactly why. When it comes down to it, when it's about her particular group that she feels that she's a part of, then no, we got to look at everything. We got to look at the past. We got to look at the future. We got to look at the present. We got to look at motherfucking this. You got to look at that. And she doesn't see. She doesn't see it. And this is just telling, like, it's telling that she doesn't see it. Because in the end, we know why she doesn't see it. Because she doesn't want to. Because she's a bigot. God, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to have to stop at 5, guys, because this is just telling. This is just fucking telling. We got an hour. Yeah. I'm going to stop at 5. We'll pick this up next weekend or sometime during the week.
forces. But when it's white people, you'll only say, well, I don't see what the problem is with essentializing a sociological force to a racial group.
No, I'm saying that the continuation of colonization exists. It exists in these countries where people are still being colonized. People have to figure out how to deal with colonialism. People have to figure out how their own self-determination to figure out what's going to happen.
We have to find out how to deal with crime. That's a responsibility of the American people. How do we deal with crime? Now, here's the question.
I think if you redistribute wealth, that would probably help with crime.
Do we talk about crime as though it is a innate product of a given racial group? Or do we talk about it as though it's a sociological force? That's a critical distinction right there. And I don't know why you're not willing to afford that shared ability when white people are the ones predominantly responsible for doing something bad elsewhere. Why essentialize it? Why make it all blood and soil?
Because white people are the ones who are colonizing the world.
Black people are the ones who are shooting each other in the streets of Detroit.
Right, but in the context of history, black people, that's happening because of the poverty and the situations that's happened through racism.
And in the context
of
history,
colonialism,
and in the context of
colonialism,
the white people,
history, are white people colonizing different countries, and so
yeah. Well, why did the white people do that?
Because they wanted resources.
No, the actual colonizers were usually poor.
White people didn't colonize people because they didn't want resources.
I'm sorry, was every person who went to South?
Really nice looking.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Was every person in South Africa, every white person who went there, the king? No, most of them were poor feudal serfs who joined the military because they got nothing more than a bowl of soup and a loaf of bread every day. And in
why we're stuck.
Hold on. And in the service of their lord's army, they were sent out on a transoceanic, journey to enforce the monarchical will of their king, often at pain of death if they failed to. There were many mutinies. There were plenty of people who killed each other because they weren't willing to or want to do the stuff they ended up being forced to do. So actually, the white people who colonized were just products of the sociological context of where they came from. You could do this forever. No group is more inherently evil than any other group. If you run it back far enough, everyone does bad things because they were put under circumstances that leads to that. So you're not willing to afford that shared ability.
White people the socioeconomic power to oppress black people, and white people still participate in that.
And black people in inner cities kill and menace lots of people with crime.
Right, but this is an issue of who has the power. Like, why do black people commit crime?
Why do white people colonize?
The situations of poverty. White people colonized because they wanted more resources, not because they needed more resources.
The king? Who do you think got those resources? Every soldier who was sent there? You're doing it again.
People are literally profiting off of that land.
Oh my God.
You're doing it again. Whenever we talk about non-white people,
profiting off of that land.
Whenever we're talking about non-white people,
I'm doing the thing where I'm saying that the white people who colonized places were profiting off of that land. That's what I'm doing. That's what you're getting on me.
Do you think the serfs that were sent to colonize South Africa got rich? The thousands of people that got sent over on boats, do you think every single one of them became rich? No, a tiny percentage of the bourgeois or the feudal aristocracy got
resources away from the people who live there.
Why do you
people who? What do you mean? How can you not keep track? I'm talking about people who have colonized countries.
All of them? Or the bourgeois,
the
aristocracy?
The people who colonize the countries, the rich people,
oh my
and
God.
the poor people who moved there too, are profiting off of colonization.
Okay, and black people in the U.S. profit off of crime. The black criminals in the U.S. profit off crime. You are incapable, completely incapable, of applying sociological context to white people. You are like non-white people. I do unironically think you're racist.
Okay, I know that you think I'm racist. I already talked about it in my video. But what I don't understand is that you can't admit that people who have colonized countries are profiting off of that. And that's a problem.
I'm sorry. Hey,
I don't understand why you're trying to go hard on me.
Chat, at any point during this convo, have I ever said that colonizers haven't profited from colonization, or is this another point that was made up at some point? Yeah, I didn't think so either. No. The argument I'm making...
If you can understand that, then maybe you can try to understand why people who are colonized still need to attack the system of colonialism.
We're not
talking about that. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh my God!
I don't understand what you're talking about.
She doesn't get this. This is... The whole debate is whataboutism. The fucking debate. I'm sorry, not whataboutism. I apologize. The whole debate is special exceptions. This is just the whole debate. The whole debate is, but my reason is because. She doesn't get that. That's the whole debate that has been so far. And this whole debate has just been, my special exception is important because reasons. That's what this whole debate has been. My special exception. That's all this debate has been. Well, I just feel that, I'm right about what I feel. That's what this whole debate has been. And I'm sorry, I'm just getting tired of this shit. It's a debate that has literally just been going on and on about the fact that, well, when because white people bad.
I know you don't. I am all for attacking the system of colonialism. I'm against essentializing it as a product of a given racial group. This is a one-to-one comparison that you don't seem to understand.
Even though so much of Europe colonized Africa, you can't think of that as an issue of a racial group.
I mean, can you think of black crime as like an issue of a racial group here in the U.S.? It is demographically like a racial issue.
It's an issue of...
And it's just going back to, she's just trying to justify the fact that she feels that white people are bad, white people are evil, the white devil, all this other good bullshit. This is so fucking ridiculous. This is so fucking ridiculous. This is, wow, fuck. I don't know what else to say with this shit. This is so fucking stupid. She's literally doing, but have you thought white people are the devil? Like, for real. I just like, this is sad on so many different levels. I don't know what else to say. All right, let's go.
Of racism, which is caused by white people.
Wait, okay,
in those terms, yes.
Hold on. So in that case, even though black people are responsible for a disproportionate amount of violent crime in the U.S., you're willing to say it's not the race, it's the system of racism. But then when it comes
caused by white people,
when it comes to colonialism, you'll say, no, what's wrong with just saying white people are all the colonizers? You say you're fighting colonialism, but you're not. You're just fighting...
This is what we're stuck on. You're stuck on that. I'm saying that
you're just fighting white
colonized people.
I honestly don't think you give a fuck about the colonized. I just think that you're enacting some kind of petty revenge fantasy where you
exactly.
know you're the victim of racism your
exactly.
whole life, and it gives you, like, I don't know, what, some satisfaction of reciprocating
is that I am saying that
this is a
white
direct
people
one-to-one comparison that you can't...
And you want me to say that it's just like the kings and queens who are colonizers. Is that the issue?
I didn't say it was the kings and queens who were colonizers. You kept saying
so
they wanted to get wealthy.
You're saying that white people are colonizers. Can you help me understand?
Okay.
Help me understand why that's the issue.
Do you think black people are criminals?
Can you use a different example?
No,
because
this is directly one-to-one, and you won't accept it because you are fundamentally unwilling to give to white people the charity you give to non-white people. This is a direct comparison. We have a racial group that is disproportionately responsible for a negative thing.
There are black people who are criminals, and there are white people who are colonizers.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't understand the point
so maybe
that you're making here.
So there are black people who are criminals. Would you be okay with me saying stuff like crime is a black problem in the United States? We need to deal with black people and their crime.
Exactly.
What's the cause? What is the root cause?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question.
What's the cause of crime?
So wait, so you ask what is the cause, and then you get to talking about the real issues below the surface level, like racism and economic deprivation and inequality. I agree with that completely. So with let's do it again, except in South Africa, okay? So I could say white people are colonizers. They're colonizing South Africa. And then you could say...
What would I say?
You could say the issue is colonization. There are white people, and they are the group of people most responsible for colonization, but not all white people are colonizers. You yourself acknowledged it's possible for a white person to live ethically in South Africa. So maybe we go below the surface level and we talk about the underlying issue, like colonization and the systemic problems that lead to that, which are not, by the way, white people being bad. The systemic problems that led to that, when it happened back in the day, was European colonialism, and before that, an asymmetric distribution of technological development, and before that, you go to the root of feudalism itself. There's always broader context, but let's not essentialize it as a race thing.
Right, but the issue is that white people, even if they came to South Africa later on, are still benefiting off of colonialism.
But there are black people who benefit from
crime. And then white
crime.
people don't want to give up their power. But black people benefiting from crime is not an example of black people having power. White people gaining.
Oh my God!
Is an issue
Oh my God!
Balance.
Oh my God!
Who has power? Who has the power in this situation? You think the black people who are committing crime have the power in their lives?
So this to
No.
me, so what you're doing right now, and I feel like we've been running in a circle, and I guess we're not going to agree. What you're doing right now is the essential logic of the white nationalist, which is that when you go past all of the moral arguments, the fundamental thing comes down to this: we have a grievance, and our grievance entitles us to essentialist treatment of other groups. I don't think that the system of ethics fundamentally changes depending on how colonized the people are who we're referring to. You take it all into consideration. The ethical system stays the same. And in my case, I'm being consistent. You attack the issue, not people most associated with the issue based on race. But in your case, you think that a feeling of grievance entitles you to racial essentialization. And unfortunately,
It's not a
this is the
feeling of
logic.
grievance. It's the fact that these people have been colonized, and they should have the right.
It is a
to
feeling
It's
of
not the feeling of
grievance.
grievance, it's this grievance that I have. I know.
colonization.
It's, yeah, this is fundamentally the logic, the language that people engage in. If you want to, I encourage you to go back.
White nationalists talk about how colonized people shouldn't be colonized. That's the engagement here.
No,
Yes.
no.
That's what white people
Yes,
are talking about.
white nationalists
White
literally-
nationalists really believe that we should get rid of all the colonization. That's
Yes,
what white nationalists are.
white nationalists tend to be ultra-isolationists who argue that the immigration of black and brown people into the U.S. is a form of colonization pushed on us by the Jewish people who have controlled our banks and our government and our culture. They directly use the language.
I've also heard white nationalists say that South Africa should be colonized because they believe that black people aren't capable of having their own self-determination.
No, every white nationalist that I've ever talked to has bitten the bullet and said Africa for Africans, Europe and America for white
Yes.
people. So if anything, they would agree with you on that, which is why Marcus Garvey liked the KKK, by the way.
I haven't actually heard white nationalists say that. And also, Marcus Garvey didn't like the KKK. Marcus Garvey talked to the KKK and said, hey, you don't want us here, we don't want to be here. And that's not the same thing.
No, it's, I mean, liked, and we both want to kick black people out of the U.S. It seems like a, at least
I think that's not actually the framing of what happened. What happened is Marcus Garvey was like, he's a separatist, again, which I don't believe in, but Marcus Garvey was like, hey, we don't want to be here anymore because living with white people is really hard.
He was a separatist. You do believe in it. You're using separatist languages. I'm sorry. To be specific, very specific, she's not using separatist languages. She's okaying separatism because it fits her narrative. At what point does this... I gotta go wash my clothes. I gotta go to the laundromat. I gotta wash my clothes. And yeah, I gotta cook dinner. I don't know what else to do. I try to finish this tomorrow. No, I'm sorry, I got something. I'm not coming home till late tomorrow. I'll try to finish this probably Tuesday. Oh God, this is so disgusting. Guys, thank you for sticking with me so far. I don't know what to say. Part 2 coming up soon. Yeah. Let's go. Be the person who you want to be around, not just who you want to be like, and all that other good shit. Peace.
What do you think that these executives are afraid you're going to do to white America?
Probably stop some racism.
Stop racism?
Yeah, I'm probably afraid of that because then people don't hate each other, and people start talking to each other, and then they start talking to each other, they find out who's the problem.
Which is?
Greedy people.
Greedy. I have a couple things I want to ask you there. Do you really think that some of the guys that you dealt with at NBC, no names, right? Because there's lawsuits for that too, that some of these guys really want to promote racism actively, or is it a subconscious?
I just think it's part of capitalism, is to promote racism, right? In order to make things work. If you feel better because you're white and you can get a job, you use that. I mean, I would.
Absolutely.
Say, I'm sorry, Jack, but shit, they say I'm white. I'm going to use this.
Right. Absolutely.
Get this job. I'm hungry, But, and that separates people. So they keep people separated, and that keeps them from thinking about the real problem. That's as simple as I see it. Probably it's not that simple, but...
Now, all right, you and I are about the same age, right? We're in our mid-30s. How long is it going to take before guys who think like you, and I say guys who think like me, people who don't want to have racism in the country, people who don't want to be oppressing any minority, whatever it is, sexual, whatever minority, really get into positions of power and can change things.
You can't get in a position of power, it seems, if you think like that. It seems that the only time you get in a position of power is if you're like the people that are in power. To me, I mean, that's the way it goes. I mean, people that get to become executives become like the people that were already executives.
I don't know, maybe...
They go in with good intentions, but it eats them up. It's like a cesspool, you know, it just gets on you and it starts
the system
eating.
levels them.
Pretty soon it's
Is
all
that
gone.
what a cesspool sounds like?
Yes.